Opening Drive on 101 ESPN. Brought to you by Sumner One.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday. Welcome to the Opening Drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis. We're at 7 o'clock. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley, Dan McLaughlin, Matthew Rocchio, Randy Carricker, and I do apologize, kids. I completely forgot about Hardy's Rise and Shine. I didn't get up early enough to do Hardy's Rise and Shine for us.
Yeah, I was waiting for it, Randy.
I know you were. And I got into. I actually came into the building. Got an email yesterday, by the way, that our elevator, which has been out since before Christmas, was working. So I get to the elevator and it's not working. So that's a bad thing. Then I get to the top of the steps. I say, "Damn it! I was supposed to get Hardy's biscuits for Brooke and Rocc and Dan, and I did not." So I apologize. I'm an idiot.
You dropped the ball on that.
I did.
I was waiting for those cinnamon raisin biscuits this morning, Randy.
I owe you guys. I owe you big time.
So what's coming then? What can we look forward to next week?
Something really good on Monday. Oh, you know what I've got for you guys? I've got Chick-fil-A on Tuesday.
Ooh.
Boom. That just happened. Whew.
Okay,
Yeah.
that you can make up with it with Chick-fil-A breakfast.
Good. I'm taking care of my kids. Here's what we got coming up on the show. We're going to talk to our buddy Marc Bulger at the bottom of this, or not? No, in about 15 minutes, we're going to talk to Marc Bulger, former Rams quarterback, former PGA Tour pro Jay Delsing at 7:30. We're also going to talk to Joey Vitale. He's at 8, so if you usually listen to Joey at 8:15, he's at 8 o'clock today. And then Robbie Tommy joins us at 9 o'clock, and then Michael Lombardi, former NFL executive, is going to join us to talk about the Super Bowl at 9:30. So a busy day here on the Opening Drive on 101 ESPN. Last night, bad news from Vegas, the NFL honors. Torry Holt denied again for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It is. I don't know. And by the way, congratulations to the people that did make the Hall of Fame. Julius Peppers, Dwight Freeney, Patrick Willis, Devin Hester, and Andre Johnson, wide receiver from the Houston Texans, made it. I just wonder, and maybe if you're a Texans fan, you can help me with this, but I look at the body of work. I watched Torry Holt play his entire career here in St. Louis. I look at the numbers, and I can't figure out how, from a football standpoint, you would choose Andre Johnson over Torry Holt. Not that I don't think Andre Johnson is a Hall of Famer. Don't get this misconstrued. I think Andre Johnson is a Hall of Famer. I would have just put Torry Holt in ahead of Andre Johnson if I had that choice this year. And, oh, by the way, I would have put in Reggie Wayne ahead of Andre Johnson, too.
I was completely shocked at this. I thought for sure that this would be the time that Torry Holt gets in. Randy and Dan, the only thing I can think about is that he just continues to be a casualty of that narrative that he had so many other weapons around him and that somehow he didn't stand out amongst the rest. But Torry Holt, as we all know, he was a big point. He was a big figure of that whole greatest show on turf. I can't understand it. It's very frustrating, as you can tell. I just don't get why they continue to overlook him in that way.
It's a shame. He should be in. He's going to get in, but as you continue to stay out, the frustration builds, and I can understand that for he and his family. I'm with you, Brooke. I think that he is a byproduct of the greatest show on turf. He will get in. It just, I hope it doesn't take 5 more years for him to get in. And I don't know, Brandy and Brooke, maybe you guys know who else is going on the ballot here in the next few years that would push him back, but it continues to get pushed back. He played in a different era than some of these other guys, too. That's also something you have to keep into consideration. But when you look at his body of work for a 8 to 10 year period, there was nobody else that put up numbers, including Isaac, like Torry Holt.
Okay, so Torry had more receptions per game, more yards per game than Andre Johnson, okay? Who else, what other skill position players did Andre Johnson play with when he was with the Texans? Can we name one? Torry was playing, he was playing on a team that had Isaac Bruce, that had Marshall Falk, that had Oz Hakeem, that had Ricky Prohl. he was getting the ball and putting up big numbers despite the fact that there were other people that needed the football.
And that's why I think that he should have gotten in. I think that him and Antonio Gates were the two biggest snubs for me last night. Antonio Gates, another one that was kind of perplexing because his touchdown figures just stand out amongst the rest. 116 touchdown receptions, the most ever by a tight end in NFL history, and seven most touchdown catches by any player. I think that him and Torry Holt should have gotten in.
Yeah.
I just hope it doesn't take more than 5 years. I didn't think he was going to get in last night. I had said that yesterday on our show. Just didn't have a good feeling about it. When you look at Andre Johnson being a little bit more recent, I guess, and some of the other guys, Devin Hester should be in. I don't think the class that they put in, any of those guys should not be in, but a casualty with this is Torry Holt, and that's unfortunate.
Take it or leave it, Scott Linehan put Devin Hester in the Hall of Fame on that Monday night here in St. Louis in 2006.
I'll take that. Devin Hester was all over the place.
It was unbelievable. How do you kick to that guy twice? And that's when Jeff Joniak's famous, Devin Hester, you are ridiculous. He came about on the second one.
You probably know this. What is Scott Linehan up to these days?
I think he went back to Idaho or something like that. He was an analyst for Mizzou a couple of years ago. His son was on the staff at Mizzou, and he was an analyst with the Tigers. And then I think he wound up going back to Idaho, which is where he quarterbacked and was a coach for a long time. And he might wind up at, I wouldn't be surprised if he winds up at Michigan State because John L. Smith's son, and Linehan is a John L. Smith guy, is at Michigan State.
So he'll be a coordinator like Mike Zimmer, who just got the Dallas defensive coordinator job yesterday.
Great.
Yeah.
That just makes me happy for Mike Zimmer.
It does?
Oh, yeah, it does.
Happy?
Yeah, I've always kept an eye on him.
Terrible.
Randy.
What?
It is 7:06 in the morning.
And you're on fire. Way to go, Randy.
Not.
What a start.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
What else happened last night?
Okay, well, there
Comeback player of the year was, drumroll please, Joe Flacco. Are you guys surprised about that? I picked Joe Flacco to be the comeback player of the year. I know DeMar Hamlin, obviously, great story. But when you're talking about impact on the field, Joe Flacco literally came off of his couch. Then he was signed to the practice squad, and then he was able to help the Browns in that way. I thought it was the right decision.
Yeah, it's the correct decision. Joe Flacco is a very good, solid, capable choice.
I had no problem with the choices. Lamar Jackson, MVP. Christian McCaffrey, Offensive Player of the Year. Myles Garrett, Defensive Player of the Year. Rookie of the Year was Offensive Rookie of the Year. C.J. Stroud. Will Anderson Jr., also of the Texans, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Kevin Stefanski, Cleveland Browns, he gets an award. Joe Flacco gets the comeback player of the year. I had no problem with any of those.
No.
Did you guys?
No.
I'll be interested to see if Houston ascends next year, because last year the rookies of the year came from the Jets, right? And both Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner regressed, and granted, they had the quarterback situation. The Texans have everything going for them. I hope they ascend again next year because Will Anderson and C.J. Stroud are both studs. That staff in Houston did a magnificent job in putting together and running the draft last year.
I was very impressed with the Texans and everything that they were able to do, and I'm very impressed by C.J. Stroud. He just completely crushed that narrative between him and Bryce Young. Remember all the issues with the cognitive test and what that would look like for him? That narrative is completely gone. To me, he looks fantastic, and I'm excited to see, even though they're in the AFC South, I'm still excited to see what he does.
Young teams, I'm looking at Green Bay, too, on the other side.
Yeah.
Yes.
Texas and the Texans and Green Bay, I think, are going to be probably teams that you look at as potential Super Bowl favorites going into next year.
Green Bay, the youngest team in the league this year, and the youngest defense in the league is playing on Sunday here on 101 ESPN. Super Bowl 58, the Chiefs have the youngest defense in the league, and they take on the San Francisco 49ers. And that line just keeps changing, guys, at the moment as we get ready for the game. The Niners were a 2.5-point favorite. Now they're a 1.5-point favorite.
I was shocked that they were even favored. I thought Kansas City, after what they did in the playoffs, would be the favorite going into this Super Bowl, but it goes to the 49ers. And the 49ers have started slow in their playoff games, very slow. I just thought that Kansas City, with what they've been through to get to this point, would be the favorite, and for what they've done in the past. And, oh, by the way, they got the best QB in the league and one of the best that's ever played it in Patrick Mahomes. I was a little surprised that KC wasn't favored.
I was too.
I'm guessing a lot of people still aren't fully bought in. But to your point with the 49ers, they have had to come back in games. And so it looks like they've been a little stagnant to at least start out the games. But I think it comes down to how many difference makers the 49ers have.
Christian McCaffrey would be my guy.
Offensive
You
player
got to
of
get
the
him
year.
the ball.
And we'll talk about this a little bit later, but if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I'm trying to run the ball with McCaffrey. And if I'm Andy Reid, I'm trying to run the ball too. I want to keep Mahomes upright as much as possible. And I know that the Niners have had trouble getting to the quarterback as much this year as they did last year. But Tooney apparently is not going to play. The offensive tackles for Kansas City are compromised. You know that there's going to be a plan set up by San Francisco to try to get after Mahomes. So I would try to run the ball. I would try to run Pacheco, and I think with the line they have now with Smith and Taylor at the tackles and Tooney and Smith at the guards and Humphrey at center, I think that's a good run-blocking offensive line, and that's the approach that I would take. And that's an obvious approach if you're San Francisco, right? Because you want to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands, too. Just grind away and pound away at that defense as much as you can.
Because he's a game changer, and you know that. But is it bad that I'm also looking at the Chiefs' defense as the other big difference maker because they have been all season?
In terms of units in this game, this is a big statement. The Chiefs' defense is the best unit in this game. And that's a lot because the San Francisco offense is great. The Kansas City offense has some really good parts. The San Francisco defense is terrific. I mean, you're talking about a Pro Bowl defensive end, a couple of Pro Bowl linebackers, a couple of Pro Bowl corner, Pro Bowl safety, all pro quality guys. And they're studs. But if I was to start a team and you say, okay, you can take one unit from this game, it would be the Chiefs defense.
I would take the San Francisco offense. So that's what makes this so much fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Christian McCaffrey, I just think you got to get him the ball. And it has to start early. He has 872 yards on first downs this season. That's most among running backs. And I looked this up, 6 yards from scrimmage per touch. Man, that's a lot. You got to take him out of the game some way, somehow. He's that good.
Yeah, and it's like taking Marshall Faulk out of the game.
Exactly.
He's what Marshall Faulk was. He's the closest thing to Marshall since Marshall, and that's with all due respect to what LaDainian Tomlinson did in his career. But in terms of coming out of the backfield and running routes that tight ends run and being really smart about the game, he's I guess a Swiss Army knife. I know that's an overused term in sports, but he is. You can do anything with McCaffrey.
And on the other side, Travis Kelce, I feel like that he has really established himself recently in those games. Because there were some concerns early on. What was the stat that you had, Dan, about how many drop passes the Chiefs have had? And how many did Travis Kelce have?
Oh, I don't remember that. Yeah.
It felt like there was quite a bit early on.
Yeah,
from
he looked
him.
old and slow.
He did. But now, the fact that he is able to really get going, I think that's a huge difference maker for them, too.
I was looking at Travis Kelce's numbers for the season. He still is among like the top 1 or 2 in just about every offensive category.
93 catches.
Yeah, and while he, did struggle and looked slower, looked like he aged towards the second half of the season, he's turned it on in the playoffs, and he's a key right now for Kansas City, and you got to shut him down if you're San Francisco.
Kind of like Cooper Kupp. It's amazing to me because that's got to be the focus when you're a defensive coordinator. You say, okay, 87 is our primary focus here. We got to cover him, but he still gets open all the time. It's unbelievable.
Finds a way. He and Mahomes find a way.
Absolutely. Coming up next year on 101 ESPN, we're going to talk to former St. Louis Rams quarterback Marc Bulger. He's got some fun business interests going on down in Nashville. Talk to him about that and more next on 101 ESPN. Welcome back to the opening drive on 101 ESPN with Brooke Grimsley and Dan McLaughlin. I'm Randy Carricker, and it's always good to talk to former St. Louis Rams quarterback Marc Bulger, who joins us now on 101 ESPN. Marc, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, Randy. How are you?
I'm doing great. We miss the Rams, and we miss you here. Are you still paying really close attention? You're down in Nashville. Close attention to the National Football League?
I do here and there. I became a Titans fan, believe it or not. I mean, always a Ram, but Mike Vrabel and I became friends. You know, he played at Pittsburgh, and but unfortunately he's gone there. But, yeah, I watch here and there, but not as much as I used to.
But who do you like in the Super Bowl on Sunday?
Oh, geez.
It's hard, isn't it?
It is. I don't want to be the Debbie Downer. I'm rooting for San Fran, and whatever reason, I just want San Fran to win.
Well, is there anything to do with, because there was a recent article that I thought was really interesting by The Athletic that is titled, Why This Year's 49ers Team Reminds the Greatest Show on Turf Rams of Their Super Bowl Run. Do you see any similarities between the 49ers team, this current 49ers team, and also everything that you guys had going on with the Rams back then?
I do. I know Purdy, he's pretty popular now, but I just like he kind of has the Kurt Warner story, and he's a really good player. And there's nothing like being quote unquote the underdog, and their roster's pretty strong. But the Chiefs, I mean, you can never count out Mahomes. I mean, that kid, that's how old I'm getting. He steps up every big game.
When you evaluate watching QBs, tell us a little bit about Brock Purdy. What do you see with him?
He can definitely move a lot better than I could. Coach Marc, we were more old school, and everything was timing. But he can make plays similar to Mahomes. But I like his confidence. He's not arrogant, but he definitely has a swag to him.
Marc, wouldn't it have been nice to have the rules where quarterbacks couldn't be hit when you were playing?
I think I'd still be playing. I mean, all these, I don't even know if anyone now can take a snap from under center in college, let alone the pros. But, hey, it is what it is. If I ever went back and coached, which I won't, I would start a under center offense again, and defenses wouldn't know what to do.
What would you do out of under center? What would your plan be?
Put a fullback in and put a tailback in, and you run the ball and you do play action and you do the timing like Coach Marc did. I think the most underrated coach ever. And the defensive coordinators wouldn't know what to do because no one does it right now.
Hey, Marc, Torry Holt up for the Hall of Fame. What did he mean to your career, especially when you were getting started in 2002? What was Torry to Marc Bulger?
Oh, he was great. I mean, not only Torry, Isaac Bruce too, but Torry, he accepted me because, I mean, they just came off a Super Bowl win and we had a Super Bowl loss. And then I had to take over when Kurt got hurt, and he accepted me, and we just had a relationship. And then it became off the field too, and it was visual on the field. I didn't have to give him a bunch of signals. We kind of knew, okay, this guy's pressing him. It's 3rd and 1. We're taking a shot. So it was nonverbal because we just had such that good communication, and he's definitely special, and hopefully he gets in quicker than I think Isaac, who was snubbed so many times. Thank God he's in, but Torry's a special, special person and player.
Walk us back through that moment. You took over, as you mentioned there, after Kurt Warner got hurt. How intimidating was that locker room? As you mentioned, just so many Hall of Famers now in there. You have Marshall Faulk, Orlando Pace, Isaac Bruce. The list goes on and on. What was that like?
Well, the year before I had been cut, and I was, Isaac Bruce was on my fantasy team. So my first snap ever was on the 1 yard line against the Raiders. We were 0-5, I believe, and the Raiders were 6-0 because of a bye week or something. And I'm on the 1 yard line with these guys. I go, what did I get myself into? But we went right down and scored a touchdown, and those guys couldn't have been better than me. And we had pretty much a family back in those years.
When you watch Mahomes play, and we talked about Purdy, if you could pinpoint a thing or two with him that separates him from the rest, what is it? What stands out?
Well, with Mahomes, he can make plays, and he's been in the same system now for multiple years. And I used to say that about Brady too. It helps when you have continuity in the same system. It's not learning a different language every year, because coaches don't learn a different language, but they expect players to, which I never understand, because they have their sheet in front of their faces. But Purdy, eventually he'll. He's a great player already, but once he gets a couple more years in, he'll be on the same level as Mahomes, I believe.
Speaking of great quarterbacks, what was it like working with Kurt Warner back then?
It was great. We had a family, and he took care of our locker room, and he took care of me and taught me, and I just tried to be a sponge when I was around him, because he was the league MVP when I came in and was back up for a year. And he couldn't have been better and more gracious with me and helped me go along. And then obviously when he left the Rams, he did a lot better things in Arizona. I mean, the Giants, small hiccup, but I mean, he couldn't have been a better mentor for me.
And Marc, when you look at guys like Kurt and you look at Mahomes, I think from their first Super Bowl, the only starter left on offense with him is Travis Kelce. There are certain guys that are able to elevate the players around them. What do you think it is about people like that? And by the way, we had some guys come in here that had their best years with Marc Bulger at quarterback too. What is it about some guys that just have the ability to elevate the players that are around them? Again, it's the continuity. It's the trust. The Torry Holt, how I mentioned before, I could just look at him, and I have a feeling that, Mahomes and Kelce, they can just look at each other, and they don't even have to communicate verbally or, by sign, our signals and all that. They can just look at each other and know exactly what's going to happen. So these teams, I won't mention any, but they keep switching coaches and switching players and think that's going to be the fix. That's not how it works in the NFL. You got to keep the same base, and I think that's the key.
Marc Bulger is our guest, the former Rams QB. What keeps you busy these days? What keeps you going?
Oh, gosh. My daughter's first and foremost. I got a 13 and a 10-year-old. I got a curling facility here in Nashville. It has bowling and a restaurant. And the city's pretty cool. I don't know how much you guys get down here, but if you do, I want to teach you how to curl. The Olympic sport, if people aren't too aware of it, it's crazy. I got with Jared Allen, and we trained for the Olympics, and I got too old. I can't do it anymore, so I just built one here instead, and it's a great time. So I invite all three of you to come down anytime you want.
We'd love to. And by the way, Jared has a chance, right, to be on the USA Olympic curling team?
He does. He's a little younger than me, but he's gotten really, really good. He trains here about 4 days a week in the mornings. And I'll curl with him, but I'm nowhere near as good as he is now. But at least I cannot fall. That's what I'm happy about.
Now, I would think, and one of the things that in reading a story about that, one of the things that Jared had said in looking for an Olympic sport was something that you can do at a relatively advanced age. You're 46 now. You aren't old. Why are you too old for curling?
I'm telling you, with curling, it turned into my kids and travel. He was just in Switzerland for 2 weeks. It's a lot of travel, and in 46, I live in dog years, Randy. Come on. You saw me get beat up those years.
I did.
My back's about done. So, yeah, it was just the travel and all that. But it's still enjoyable. We get actually more women than men curling in here. But I've seen 65-year-old guys beat the crap out of 25-year-old kids in curling. It's kind of like a golf sport. It doesn't matter age or gender.
How did it all start, curling for Marc Bulger?
I had moved here at the same time as Jared Allen, and then he called Keith Bullock and Mike Roos, two other NFL guys, and he hadn't made a bet. I don't even know what he did. And I really didn't know Jared that well, but he said, I want to go to the Olympics. I said, okay. And he told me badminton. I said, okay. So I looked it up for 2 days. I called him back. I said, Jared, there's zero chance we're going to do that. He goes, okay, give me a couple days. And he said curling. We said, okay. And actually that year, the U.S. team won their Olympic gold out of the blue. So we had started before the U.S. won the gold, but that's how it started. It was all Jared Allen. I never in a million years would have thought I'd be curling.
So now with T-Line, with the facility that you have down in Nashville, do you have Olympic hopefuls that are coming in and spending time there and getting ready to be Olympic athletes?
Sure. I mean, well, Jared's here. His team, 3 of them already won silver medal and one won a gold medal. And they come in and they train all the time for his team. But we've had, the guy with the mustache everyone knows, Matt Hamilton and Schuster, and they just won the nationals. They've been in here curling many times. And so the goal is to try to get more events here and get our ice to the level where, we have national events and they're on TV, and it'll be great.
Okay, so with all of the success and as great as the family is doing and as great as your facility is doing, I have to believe that the Marc Bulger golf game has taken a hit. Now, I know you're great, but when you don't play a lot, does it affect you? Has your golf game taken a hit because of all this time you're spending doing other things?
I get to play maybe once a month, but it's so weird. I play once a month, and I play better golf than I used to when I was playing, 14, 15 days a month. So I stick with this method. Just go up and hit the ball, and no, I don't need lessons. I've never had a lesson in my life golf, and I just get up and hit the ball, and it's actually helped my golf game, not playing as much. So.
Good for you. I don't know that I could do that, Marc. For some reason, I'm Ranger Randy. I get out there and I hit balls and I get out on the course, and I suck. So maybe the thing that I need to do is go to the once a month situation that you've got going. Maybe that'll make me better.
You should, because then I go do a charity event. It'll be 3-4 days in a row, and I can't get out of bed because my back's so sore, Randy. So I'm going to stick to the once a month method.
Hey, we talked about how much you got beat up, and you said you aren't going to coach. Do you miss football?
I miss the locker room we had my first 6-7 years. That was the most fun part. But Monday mornings, Tuesday mornings, they weren't the best. But after 30-something broken bones, I think I don't miss it that much.
And the thing that people might not realize, not only did you have 30-something broken bones, but you were playing with a lot of broken bones.
Oh, yeah. I played with a lot of, I think the rules were a little different back then when you did the injury report. I played with broken ribs all the time, but if you can't, back then we didn't put on the injury report because then the other team would know it. And, just taking a snap would hurt. It was, it is what it is, but I don't regret one thing about it. I had a great time in St. Louis.
Hey, last thing, you got to play with a ton of Hall of Famers. You didn't get to play for Coach Vermeil, obviously, but you got a chance to play with Aeneas and Isaac and Marshall and Orlando. What's it mean to you to have played with what is arguably the greatest offense in the history of the league? They're
all great guys. I mean, everyone was so different, but we all, again, like I said, family. I mean, towards the end of my career, not that these guys were bad guys. It was just a different locker room. I mean, guys like Timmerman and Dre Bly and, the list goes on. Leonard Little, we all just got along so well. And then towards the end, it went off. But Vermeil, he came back, Coach Vermeil, Isaac Bruce put this thing on at the Dome, and he treated me like I played for him, and he was the nicest guy in the world. And as I said, it was playing for Coach Marc was the biggest honor football-wise in my life because he taught me more about football than I did the last 7 years of my career.
Okay, and so you're rooting for San Francisco. You aren't picking San Francisco, but you're rooting for San Francisco just because you like them.
Oh, I think you can figure out why.
Yeah.
I don't want to. No, I just want to watch football. I don't want all the other stuff. let's leave it at that.
Sounds good. Hey, Marc, it's great to hear your voice. If people are making their way to Nashville, check out T-Line with both curling and bowling and great food and drink. It's great to hear your voice. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl, and hopefully we'll catch up soon. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, Randy.
That's our buddy Marc Bulger here on 101 ESPN. I think you can figure it out. I just want to watch football, is what he said. That's his reason for rooting for the 49ers.
What does that mean?
What is it all about, Randy?
I couldn't have figured it out until he said, I just want to watch football. Marc doesn't want to watch the 24 seconds of Taylor Swift.
Oh,
Maybe
is
that is
what
it.
it is?
I think so.
Have we figured out how many prop bets she's going to be a part of?
We haven't,
Yes.
but we will.
Okay.
We need to get that going.
Here's the thing about Marc, and Marc hated the fact that the Rams were moved because he grew up a Steelers fan. He grew up with caring, like we did as football Cardinal fans. All we cared about was what happened between the white lines. We didn't need giant screens, and we didn't need huge concourses. All we needed to do was sit in a seat and watch a football game. And I kind of like that old school approach. Now, the NFL has gotten totally away from that approach, but I like the old approach when football was the thing.
That makes a lot of sense. You don't like pools and stadiums? You don't like all that different kind of stuff, Randy?
I don't think it's necessary.
You can bet in the stadium now. You
That's
just
an
sit there
important
on
thing
your
for the
phone,
National Football League.
making sure that you had good internet inside the stadium.
I have good memories of Spartan
serious.
conditions. Yeah, I know. I remember going to Dan Deerdorf's last game in 1983, and it was 0 degrees and snowing. It was awesome. It was great.
I remember I actually miss the Cardinals more than I miss the Rams.
I think most people do. I'm the same way.
I went with my dad as a youngster, and I just remember those cold days at Busch Stadium. I loved it.
My favorite memories as a kid, going to the exact same thing that you just said, going to football Cardinal games with my dad.
Yeah, I miss him every single day, and I miss that.
Yeah.
That's something I think about a lot.
So, and Brooke, you're especially, and this is not, I'm not joking.
Mm-hmm.
You grew up when Jeff Fisher was winning, and it was old school, and it was about football.
That was a great time in the Jeff Fisher era to have with the Titans, but that is the whole reason that I began to love sports. One, playing tennis, but two, just having those moments with my father. And to this day, anything that the Titans do, he will call me right away. When they got rid of Mike Vrabel, when they hired Callahan, he calls me, and those are the longest phone conversations. So it's just a very special bond to have.
And I love that your dad's all in with the jerseys and the gear. and
It's
everything.
the wide check.
It's awesome.
George, yeah.
It's great. Coming up, Jay Delsing here on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Well, the 2024 class of the Pro Football Hall of Fame was announced yesterday, and again, the 7-member class does not include former St. Louis Rams wide receiver Torry Holt, Julius Peppers, Dwight Freeney, Patrick Willis, Devin Hester, and Andre Johnson are the modern era selectors. Randy Gradishar and Steve McMichael are the senior finalists to be enshrined. Back in action tomorrow, your St. Louis Blues facing off against the Buffalo Sabres for a noon puck drop there. Also back in action tomorrow, it's going to be the Billikens facing off against St. Joseph's, and now the number 10 ranked Fighting Illini facing off against Michigan State. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your road and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Randy and Jay Delsing, our buddy. Golf with Jay Delsing, Sunday mornings, 8 to 10 here on 101 ESPN. And he joins us every Friday morning. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Good morning, guys. I'm doing great. What a fun interview with Marc Bulger. What a really good guy and a really good golfer.
I'm going to, I told these guys this quick story, and I'm going to take 30 seconds of your time here. One time, Marc was traveling out of town, and he stopped by the USO office here at Lambert Field, and was just talking to one of the USO guys, and the guy was showing him around, and he said, yeah, we're upgrading. We need $100,000. A few days later, Marc Bulger walks in with a check for $100,000 to fund the upgrades to the USO facility here at Lambert Field, and never told anybody. Nobody knew about it. Just quietly gave $100,000 to the USO here in St. Louis. He's a prince. He's a great guy.
He's so humble, Randy. I can remember when we were doing an event together, and he said if I had to play golf on Monday or Tuesday in the NFL, he goes, I couldn't possibly swing the club. We had a pretty leaky offensive line from time to time for him, and he was getting tossed around pretty good back there.
Well, I know that we're going to get into the waste management, but I wanted to start, though, with the other big news that Tiger Woods announcing this week that he will be playing in the Genesis Invitational, his first PGA Tour start of the year. What are you excited to see about Tiger's return this season?
Brooke, there's a lot going on. He's gonna unveil a new closed deal. I think it's with TaylorMade. He doesn't have a great track record at Riviera. Riviera, one of the most iconic stops on the PGA Tour. He's never played particularly well there, but one of the strategic reasons he is playing there, it's a very easy golf course to walk. So hopefully the weather will get better out in Southern Cal, and we get 4 days of Tiger. I mean, I don't know, man. I just like watching anything he does. It just I want to see what kind of speed he has. I want to see what his body looks like after, a couple of days. He's going to have to play in a Pro-Am and navigate a bunch of that stuff. So, yeah, see, there'll be cameras everywhere, and I'll sure be watching.
Jay, from your perspective, is the waste management outside the majors the most entertaining golf event for not only fans but for the players too?
Oh, Danny Mac, it is. It's more entertaining than the majors. I mean, just because people can relate to it so much. I don't know if you guys saw the dude the other day walking out of the waste management at like 11:30 in the morning with his wedding dress on. He had a white wedding dress on and a big long veil. And Brooke, you could take some notes. I know you got a big day coming up. This guy had a really
I like that dress.
Yeah, he had a really good looking dress on. And the waste management, you guys, back in '92, I finished off a good Saturday, and so I was in the last group on Sunday. And as one of the last players to leave the course on Saturday evening, and there were more spectators coming in for the party that night. This place has been a party since the Phoenix Open began, and they had a place called the Bird's Nest, which was this little bar that started off very small, and it's turned into it's like a rock show, and there's a lot of stuff going on in Scottsdale right now. It is a fun event. The 16th is a blast to play in front of.
With that being the case, they're going to have bad weather apparently down there all weekend long. How will that affect this tournament? Do you think guys will be off of their game because of rain and wind in Scottsdale?
Oh, it's difficult. It's surprising how cold the desert can get, you guys. I know it sounds crazy, but when it is not sunny and it can get very windy, it is extremely cold out. And we used to always get a frost delay in the mornings, but then by the afternoons when the weather was good, it'd be in the upper 70s. But it's going to be very tough. The golf courses will play much different than it typically does. The ball historically goes, zips quite a bit when it gets warm in Phoenix, and with these temperatures, the cold wind, the rains. So Phoenix and even Vegas, which I'm curious about the Super Bowl, is they kind of get the remnants of the weather that comes through Southern Cal, and Southern Cal's just been pummeled with rain and storms. So it'll be interesting to see. And the rain will soften the golf course up, so the scores will still probably be pretty low, but I don't expect them to be, like they have been in the past couple of years. They might touch 20 under, but I'm not sure what the forecast looks like, but it's been brutal so far.
While some players seem to have moved on with some of the players leaving to go to the LIV Tour, it seems like others are still being very vocal on what it should look like if they do come back, some of those LIV players. I don't know if you saw Scottie Scheffler's recent quote, but he said, I think there should be a pathway back for them, but they definitely shouldn't be able to come back without any sort of contribution to the tour, if that makes any sense. What do you think that he means by that?
Oh, they're going to – well, first of all, they don't want these guys that took all this money to be able to roll right back in and just play a regular schedule without some sort of compensation somewhere or another, Brooke. I don't know. I mean, there's so much going on behind the scenes right now, you guys, with this new PGA Tour Enterprises, with, $1.5 billion being separated between distributed throughout 193 players. I mean, it's so messy. There's more questions than there are answers. But when there will be a pathway back when our commissioner sits down with the PIF and they finally work something out. There'll be a pathway back. There's probably going to be a hell of a lot more money thrown at this sport by the Saudis, and it's probably going to go back to the PGA Tour and probably even to some of these players. And it's almost getting insane. Now it's insane. All this money. It's not even. I mean, $750 million, you guys, is going to be distributed between 36 players. Really? How much do you think Tiger and Rory? How do you leave Jack Nicklaus out? But I'm sure Jack will get something, but nothing compared to these other guys. I just don't know how much money Rory's going to get. Tiger's going to get. Scottie Scheffler's been world number one for. How does this shake out? And if you're number 37 and you got left out of that huge pot, and you get tossed back into the pot that only has to, split up $30 million, how does that work out? I mean, I just don't understand any of it.
Number 16 at the Waste Management has had over 14,000 attempts for a hole-in-one. Our guest, Jay Delsing, has one of them. Only a handful have been hit. It's one of the great holes in golf. The Coliseum sitting, place goes nuts. What happened on your hole-in-one on 16?
Well, I got really lucky, Dan. I was probably trying to hit a fade, and I hit a hook, and it went right in the hole. I was standing. I'll never forget this. I teed my ball up, and I don't remember who I was playing with, but the people, the spectators are right on top of you. I mean, there's not that much room there. So, as I typically do, I stood behind my ball, and I hear somebody behind me say, "Who's this guy?" And he didn't exactly use all those words, and his friend said, "I have no idea, but I'll bet you $5 he misses a green." And, that's not unusual with the way that I grew up playing golf with my friends. We tried to follow the rules of golf, but the etiquette, we talked a little trash. And so I just kind of grinned, and I happened to hit a shot. I hit a good shot. It happened to go in the hole. It was a Saturday. The pin was in the front left, and the place went crazy. So my first reaction was to turn around and look at who are these two guys, and which one of you said that? And I just got the beer shower. There were just it was just unbelievable. My caddy says to me, "Dude, you want a car?" And I look over to my left, and there's a car on the tee. This is how bad the PGA Tour was back in the day, you guys. So, and my caddy says to me, "Can I have the car?" I said, "Of course you cannot have the car. Carry the bag, and good luck in the caddy races." Because at the time, I don't know if you guys knew this, Randy and Danny, you probably did, Brooke, they used to have caddy races. So after the three players would hit, the caddies would line up on the front end of the back tee, and someone would say, on your mark, get set, go, and the caddies would haul butt towards the green, carrying the golf bag, and see who could touch the green first. And that ended when one of the caddies blew out their ankle, but that's a different story. So, yeah, as we're walking towards the green, I look back at this car, and on the front left windshield, there's a small 3x5 card on there that says Sunday only. So I didn't make the hole-in-one on the right day, so I did not get the car either. My caddy didn't get the car. I didn't get the car. But it was a thrill, you guys. I had never had applause like that in my career at all. And the people were – they might have been a little
inebriated?
Along their way, yeah. They were having a good time, but it was something I'll never forget.
Jay, who do you two have on the show? You and Danny have on the show on Sunday?
You know, we're just breaking down kind of some of the happenings that are going on. Basically, this new pool of money and what it all means. And so Danny and I are just, you know, we're just breaking down golf and talking about Wyndham Clark shooting 60 at Pebble Beach and things like that.
Yeah, good.
Wyndham.
Wyndham. You gotta get the Wyndham Clark, who goes and plays with Biff and Tad at the club.
Yeah, exactly. Ascots and the whole Thurston Hall III, all that stuff. Yeah,
there's no North County there.
Yeah. Nope.
We'll be tuned in. Jay, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
How many people do you guys know that are called Wyndham?
Not many.
Not one, just Wyndham Clark. And I think a hotel chain, and that's it.
Have a great day, guys.
Jay, see you later. Jay Delsing on 101 ESPN. Coming up, get your text in for Take It or Leave It, 314-399-9646. 314-399
Yo-ho.
TIOLI next on.
I got it in.
We got it in.
That's my one.
Thank you, Dan.
No problem.
TIOLI next on 101 ESPN.
don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
Hey, as you're going to work today, please stop by Hardee's for our Rise and Shine fundraiser. All participating Hardee's in the bi-state area are going to have a sausage biscuit or egg biscuit for just $1. 100% of the proceeds of all funds collected to help heat up St. Louis, supporting people in need in both Missouri and Illinois. This morning, head to Hardee's and pick up a sausage or egg biscuit for $1 and help people that can't afford to heat their home during this winter here in St. Louis. Kids, last night, Matthew's Nuggets were playing the Lakers, and I was rooting for the Nuggets. Take it or leave it. You'll run around today, and you'll see cats chasing dogs.
Why were you rooting for the Nuggets?
Thank you for asking.
I don't know why, but I have developed this disdain for LeBron James.
He wasn't traded last night.
He wasn't. And I was a LeBron fan. I even defended it to an extent. I defended the decision. And I still like the way he plays, but I'm just tired of it.
It was Kobe statue night.
I know it was the Kobe statue.
To me, that would have been the problem, is that, there's so much talk of him dictating where he wants to be.
Yeah.
That would have taken away the attention of Kobe statue night.
Yeah. Not only that, but saying that Bronny James could play for the Lakers right now. I get that he's proud of his son, but come on. That's just not real. And all of this GM stuff, he says he is the GM, and then he says he's not the GM. And then when things aren't going his way, he but he takes these veiled shots at the front office. And just the little things like the hourglass tweet last week. Unnecessary, the cryptic stuff.
That was unnecessary for sure.
So anyway, I've developed a level of dislike for LeBron.
And you do consider him still one of the greats, though.
One of the two best of all time.
I 100% agree with you, but I also agree with what you're saying. One of the things that bother me when we're talking about NBA and the whole load management situation is that he was a part of that. You're supposed to be the leader, the face of the NBA, and then you saw him sitting out games where he wasn't injured, and he also had other players with him who were sitting out, because if he's the leader and he's leading by example, those other guys are going to follow.
Right. So you guys do expect to see cats chasing dogs today as you drive around?
I'll take it.
Okay, good.
I'll 100% take it. You don't see
I wasn't rooting for the Nuggets last night.
Really?
I kind of wanted the Lakers to get the win on that.
Weird.
Because of Kobe
Because
statue.
of the Kobe statue.
Yeah, that's cool. That's fine. And they were wearing the Kobe jerseys and stuff.
I didn't want Jokic to ruin it, actually.
Question for you guys. Did you like the statue?
Yes, great statue.
Yes.
That is quintessential Kobe right there.
Thank you. There was a lot of people who were upset about it, and Vanessa made a statement prior that this is the statue that he wanted.
Yeah,
and that the family picked out, and that they had pictures of that, and that's what they wanted, for sure.
Exactly.
I think it's perfect.
So take it or leave it, guys. Super Bowl weekend is always very fun, especially when you're waiting to see the commercials. But take it or leave it, I don't like when they show the commercials prior to the Super Bowl. They shouldn't be doing that.
I'm going to take it. I guess it's the maximum publicity they can get, and I'm with you. I'd rather be surprised on Super Bowl Sunday.
I like being
too.
surprised. That was so much fun prior, I guess you could say, to YouTube and all that when they would put it out there and social media. I liked being surprised, and then you still could play it a million times after that.
Right.
I don't know why you have to release it beforehand.
And you will see it a million times after that, too.
Yes, exactly.
And is it $700,000 for a 30-second? I think 1.4 million a minute.
Wow, is that what it is?
Yeah, I think so. Might be more.
While you look that up, I'll go take it or leave it. Travis Kelce averaged 66 receiving yards per game, best in the National Football League. The tight end average 22 yards. With the postseason he's on, he will have above 66 yards receiving in this weekend Super Bowl.
66 yards receiving. Yeah, I'm going to take it.
I'll take it too.
Yeah.
He'll do that.
I think this is going to be a big game for him.
Although there's probably no pair of inside linebackers to cover the middle of the field better than Greenlaw and Fred Warner, but he gets open.
I love Fred Warner.
He's great. He's a stud. $7 million for a 30-second. So $7 million for a 30-second spot for the Super Bowl.
$7 million?
Yeah.
It's a lot of cash.
It is.
But some of these entities can afford it, and it works for them.
It does.
It makes it worth it.
Yeah. So, Matthew, what do we got?
Take it or leave it. We just figured out where Wyndham Clark was conceived.
In the backseat of a BMW at Plaza Frontenac?
No,
at the Wyndham.
Oh, yes, sir. Take it.
Randy.
Right there. You of all people.
Oh, no.
Wow.
What's the next take it or leave it, Rocc?
Come on.
The first week.
Hold on. It doesn't get any better than that. I need something better than just a little chuckles.
I like that was
That's the best material.
BMW.
What do you want? Randy, is that better?
You paint a vivid picture. All right, you paint a vivid
This is
picture.
very,
It's
very
getting
good
better.
picture.
She just moves on to the next thing. She gets it. Like, move on. Time to move on.
Best material I got.
No. Take it or leave it. The first week of the season, Matt Carpenter draws a bases-loaded game-winning walk, and all is right with the world again.
In the first?
Bases loaded.
First week of the season.
I bet he gets an opening day, huge ovation, first of all, but I bet he pinch hits on opening day, especially if the game is out of reach one way or another.
I will take
He will
that.
get a pinch hit appearance.
He will get a
will
pinch
take
hit
that.
appearance, but last year 0 for 13 in the pinch for the Padres.
13 at bats. It's the only 13 at bats, Randy.
Yeah, 17 plate appearances. He did have 4 walks, so congratulations there.
It's a mini sample size.
Take it or leave it. 3 Cardinals make the All-Star game.
Oh, I'll take it, 100%.
Who do you have?
Full in.
I have Lynn, Gibson, and Gray.
Really?
Who do you really take?
I was like, really? Come on.
Okay, so I'm going to go with Jordan Walker. I'm going to go with Nolan Arenado. And I'm going to go with your guy, Sonny came home.
Sonny Gray.
Yeah.
How about Wilson Contreras?
I would like it.
And I'll go with Nolan Arenado.
Good call.
I like Wilson Contreras and Nolan Arenado and Jordan Walker. But what about another outlier in Brendan Donovan?
Oh, Donnie Baseball. That's a good call. Very good call. Yeah, he could be leading the league in OPS on base percentage by the time we get to that. Come on, let's do one more. I know you want us to do a commercial, but who cares about money?
No, we have to do a commercial.
It's only money.
No, we have to do a commercial.
Oh, one more.
Okay.
No, I don't have one more. We got to do a commercial.
Okay.
Oh.
Because you know what? At 8 o'clock. Hold on. We've got Joey V. We've got Joey V. So we need time for Joey V. He's next on 101 ESPN. Hey, if you love sports, there's nothing better on the St. Louis sports calendar than Arch Madness, which comes to Enterprise Center for a 30th year this year, March 7th through 10th over at Enterprise Center, and it's going to be amazing. They have had a really good year in the Valley, and Drake is leading the way. Indiana State, though, Bradley, Northern Iowa, all with a chance to grab that automatic bid to the big dance when they come to St. Louis for Arch Madness. You can get tickets at archmadness.com. And there are a lot of local players that are going to be playing. Nick Ellington of Murray State is a Cardinal Ritter product. Vashon Kennard Davis Jr. is at SIU. Luke Kasubke of Chaminade is at Illinois State. And Donovan Clay of Alton is at Missouri State. And it's a great family event. You can get tickets now, and there's a great family fun pack at archmadness.com. Get 4 single-session tickets, 4 large sodas, 4 regular popcorns, and it's all for just $100 to head to Arch Madness. It's an unbelievable event that you will enjoy being at and seeing and enjoying for years. 30 years of Arch Madness here in St. Louis. Experience and enjoy the 30th year at Enterprise Center, March 7th through 10th. Learn more at archmadness.com. The Blues finally return to action on Saturday, tomorrow, in Buffalo, a noon game, 11 o'clock pregame here on 101 ESPN. And then they also play Super Bowl Sunday at Montreal, and that's a noon game. Evidently, they don't care about the Super Bowl in Canada. Joey V joins us now here on 101 ESPN. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Hey, Randy, what's up with this? It's a hockey game on Super Bowl Sunday. Not a fan of it, but at least they moved it up to 1 o'clock East Coast time, 12 o'clock our time. So hopefully we'll be out of there at a good time. I know the team's staying in Montreal that night, so I would imagine we're going to settle up at some restaurant to watch the game. But you know what? There are worse things in the world, no doubt.
Yeah, there are. Okay, so in your history of Super Bowl parties, what is your go-to Super Bowl party menu food? What's the number one thing, the staple for Joe Vitale's Super Bowl party?
Oh, man, I tell you what, the one thing I look forward to probably more than anything is, you know, those little mini dogs and those the slow cooker. You ever have those things?
Yeah, I love them.
I don't know why. Those are fantastic. I love just getting a toothpick, and I trade out the toothpick for like a big spoon, and they just pot them up and just go to town on them. I mean, listen, anything's good. You know, I'm getting used to watching the Super Bowl with a group of the Blues guys, obviously, instead of, you know, family and friends. Unfortunately, you know, another year where you're kind of on the road, and you adopt the road crew and the hockey ops guys as your own, because that's where you typically end up watching games like these. And so I think we'll go to a restaurant and order a couple pints, if you will, and then enjoy the game. It should be fun.
Who are you picking to win, Joey?
Well, I got a wager with my son. He's at the age where he knows everything. You know, that's an 11-year-old boy. You know, and he's like, Niners got this. No prayer. I go, are you kidding me? Like, and I start going into KC and Mahomes and all obviously the winning tradition there lately, and experience matters. And so we put a hard $20 down on it, and then I found that wasn't really good enough, because when you give an 11-year-old money, they just waste on candy, and then of course he doesn't even have $20, so it doesn't really do anything for me anyway. So the wager became, we got these two big trees in our front yard. They drop all these gumballs about this time of the year. You know what I'm talking about? These awesomely horrible trees where they drop these little spiky balls like from Mario Brothers. And our whole front yard is just loaded with these spiky balls. So the wager is that if KC wins, he has to pick up all these spiky balls in our front yard. If the Niners win, then I got to do it while he sits back on a lawn chair and watches.
I like that.
I like it.
Good. I like it a lot.
That's pretty good. Let me ask you about the Blues. 33 games to go. What are you expecting here in the stretch run?
Well, I think, 33 games, Danny Mac. I think the next 14, probably the next 10, are going to probably dictate the season and the direction of this team and where they go. I mean, listen, they're on the inside right now. They're a couple points to being right back on the outside. It's been that close. It's been a juggernaut of a conference where they're in, they're out, and it's going to be like that to the very end. So I say the next 10 games are super, super crucial, because they made some headway before the break. Now they're sitting 5 games over 500. You know, if you go on this next road trip, games on the road, Buffalo, Toronto, Montreal, you can easily go 1-2 or 0-3 and then just give them all right back. So super crucial road trip coming up. I think the next 10 games are certainly going to have a massive impact on the direction that Doug Armstrong feels about where the direction the team is going in. I think he's already a lot of his decisions are semi-made up at this point. So it's going to be up to the players to give the general manager a very tough job ahead of them to which direction do you move into, because this team is good enough to make the playoffs. And I said it before, I'll say it again, not only getting in, but I think this team is definitely good enough to steal around. They got the goaltending, and I think they got something special here with the experience of a lot of Stanley Cup champions, where to me it's still a very interesting group and a wild card group when you look at the entire conference. So for them, keep winning, keep doing what they're doing, and then hopefully they squeeze in and make some noise.
Who was a player, and we were discussing this the other day, but who was a player in the first half of the season that you were hoping to see a little bit more from, that will need to do more now in the second half, as we were talking about in these next 33 games for that playoff push?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I mean, I think that Pavel Buchnevich is going to be an interesting player moving forward. There's so much going on with Bucci. Obviously, he is one of their best players. He's one of their best offensive players, especially on that top line. I think he's gone through stretches where he's been extremely dynamic offensively. And even when his game offensively slides a little bit, he's so good defensively, which makes him such an intricate piece to this group about his 200-foot game, how he shuts games down, how he makes good decisions at right moments. He's just a player that, the manager really trusts putting out there every single time. Now, he's gone through some ups. He's gone through a little bit of injury earlier this year. Say that I think that this is going to be a player that certainly has to continue to find a new level with that top line because, Thomas has been on a great run. I think Kyrou can be, very, very spotty at times, but he can get on a run as well. So Buchnevich to me is that winger that really drives that line. You bring up another situation where what else is going on in his world? Well, he's an unrestricted free agent after next season. So he's got one more year with the Blues after this year, but he's a UFA after this year. So, does he become an interesting piece at the deadline? To me, he becomes a very interesting piece at the deadline. Have conversations happened with Buchnevich's agent and general manager Doug Armstrong? Potentially, does he want to stay here? What will it take to keep him here? He's a point-per-game player, which is incredible. Will he deserve, $8-9 million at one point? I think so. But then keep an eye on what Kyrou and Thomas make. They make that $8 million mark. Is he going to make more than Kyrou and Thomas? I don't know. So there's so many different question marks up in the air with the Pavel Buchnevich, and I know his name's definitely out there in the circuit as far as one of the top guys at this trade deadline to keep an eye on. So I say for all those reasons, I think Buchnevich to me is going to be the intricate piece in the second half, and especially over this next couple weeks.
Joey, as a fan, I love to see the players returning to the Olympics. From their perspective, though, is that something that they like and look forward to?
Oh, my gosh, 100%. And for different reasons, Dan. I remember I was a part of the 14 group in Pittsburgh when they went to Sochi. And, of course, I didn't participate in the Olympics, but, we had 7-8 players that did. The players that go love it because you're representing your country. You're hoping for a great destination. And when you look at a place like Sochi, no disrespect, but I think any other place other than Sochi will be a positive thing. That was a tough city. It was still being built when the Olympics were happening. It wasn't a terrific situation. So I think the newer cities certainly are going to be better for the players' situations when they go over there. And anytime you have a chance to represent your country, it means a ton. I remember playing with Sid and him going over there when he was playing in Vancouver, and, of course, the golden goal. The anticipation, the excitement around the Olympics, it really does mean a lot to these players who go. And for the players that don't have the honor to go, it's a great little reset for them here. We're talking about a 2.5 to 3 week break compared to like a 10-day break, which you get for All-Star. It's about a 3-week stretch where these players really have a nice time in the middle of the year just to get a reset, get away. Sometimes players are banged up to get healthy, or just to kind of get away. I remember those years again as well, and it really is nice. It's very similar to what they do in Europe. European pro hockey, they, believe it or not, they start early August. They go like 6-8 weeks. Then they take like a month off. Then they go another 6-8 weeks, take a month off. So it's kind of the way their schedule works over there. And it really does benefit a lot of players from a health standpoint and from a really good, pushing that final stretch of the season where they feel rested and recovered. So I would expect a good rest and recovery ratio for all the teams in those Olympic years for the players who don't go. And I think at the end of the day, it just brings so much excitement and it promotes the game, which is incredible.
Joey, speaking of Europe, European airline Finnair has decided to start collecting data about the average weight of customers. And before people are boarding Finnair airplanes, they are being weighed. Thumbs up or thumbs down on this practice?
Oh, man. What's the reason for it? Because they're trying to balance the left and right, or what's the deal?
And I think they don't want the plane to be overweighed, so they're not only concerned about the weight of passengers, but the weight of the bags that they're bringing on the flight as well.
Hey, you know what? I know it may be a little insensitive, but if they're going to weigh our bags and if it's going to come down to 1 pound and I got to pay an extra $150, to me, maybe the weight's a big deal and maybe it's a good go ahead. I said, that's the one thing I don't understand. I was at an airline the other day. I had 2 bags and one was like 52 pounds and the other was 40. And they're like, oh, sir, your bag's, 2 pounds over. We're at the charge of $150. I'm like, what? My other bag's 40 though. He's like, that's not really how it works. I'm like, well, explain this to me where I have 10 pounds of leeway over here. I'm 2 over here, but don't the bags balance each other out? I said, sir, I'm sorry, that's not the policy. So, again, I was a little confused. I ended up shifting the bag, no big deal.
Yeah.
But, hey, man, I don't know. That's a tough one for me, Randy, on a Friday morning before I had my cup of coffee.
So here's their explanation. They're weighing the passengers and their luggage, quote, for the purpose of aircraft balance, as you suggested, and performance calculations that are needed for the safe operation of flights.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I've gone on a couple flights where there's not a lot of a lot of passengers, and sometimes the flight attendants will say, "Hey, would you mind moving over to the left to help balance the left and right?" And at the end of the day, listen, I just want to get to where I need to go safely. You know what I mean? So I know we argue and we bicker a lot about the airlines and the policies, but they do a really good job of getting us where we need to go safely. So I'm willing to abide with whatever they decide to do. Luckily for me in my life right now, I don't have massive weight issues, so I'm okay.
No, you're in fantastic shape, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very bottom heavy. I'm very bottom heavy, if you will. I'm very bottom heavy. I'm built like a hockey player. So hopefully they don't have any hockey policies where hockey players with their big trunks can't come on these flights anytime soon.
By the way, along those lines, will you enjoy some buffalo wings in Buffalo tonight?
Oh yeah. We do it every time. I forget the place that Curbs always finds out.
Anchor Bar?
Anchor Bar, that's the one. Yeah, I think that's the original one.
Yeah.
And they got a lot of great memorabilia. You've been there before, Randy, haven't you?
Yes, sir.
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome, and it's the one city where you just kind of throw out the diet. You just say, you know what, we're in Buffalo. We're going to get wings. It's just kind of what you do. Same way when, of course, we go to Montreal, we hammer out a pastrami Reuben sandwich up there, one of our favorite places. And so this road trip actually got a lot of good eateries on the way. So I expect to come back a few extra pounds, and I really hope the Blues PJ there who gets us home after the Toronto game doesn't weigh us, because they may tell me I need to take an Uber home.
Have a great time, safe travels, and we'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good, you three. Have a great weekend.
You too, Joey. Thanks.
I saw at the Anchor Bar a guy deliver the Heimlich.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and his chicken bone just went flying across the room.
That's impressive.
It was.
Oh, my God.
Have you guys ever seen it in person? It's
No.
unbelievable.
Mike Shannon did it to Enos Slaughter.
Yes, he did.
Then he came into the booth and said, I just had to give Enos Slaughter the Alzheimer's maneuver.
How do you even wait? I'm just trying to figure out. That person just swallowed their entire wing? Have they never eaten wings before?
Got caught in his throat, and somebody got behind him and delivered the Heimlich, and that was it. Kept him alive.
So I am a flats rather than a drummies guy. I would not eat a chicken wing bone. Are you guys flats or drummies?
Drummies.
I like both, honestly. I don't have a preference, but now I'm trying to imagine, because people have certain ways that they eat wings. So maybe put it in your mouth. Have you seen people do that where they pull the whole wing
That's
out?
what I do with a flat, yeah.
Okay, that's I
I'm
can't
with
do
you,
that.
Brooke. It's a little much, Randy.
I
used to be a drummies fan, but then I discovered the twist.
It scares me a little
the
bit.
twist method that breaks a flat, and then it makes it so much easier to eat than a drumstick.
You're smart. Good. Appreciate that. Smart guy. Coming up next year on 101 ESPN, more on wings. And by the way, if you ever make your way to Buffalo, it's Niagara Falls and the Anchor Bar and Grill. And by the way, the Anchor Bar and Grill was the place where the chicken wing, the buffalo wing, was invented. They also have great pizza there. So enjoy Buffalo as much as you can. Coming up, we've got, hold on here, prop bets for the Super Bowl coming your way. I got my show set up here. I got two of them.
We've had a lot of moving parts this morning.
Yeah. It's prop bets coming your way on 101 ESPN.
Guys, it's that romantic time of year again. Valentine's Day is literally next week. Have you picked out a gift for that special someone in your life yet? Look, I know that everyone is probably stressing and searching around for that good gift for your girlfriend, wife, or soon-to-be wife. So here, let me just help you out. Go visit my friends over at Decor Interiors and Jewelry. It's in Chesterfield at Olive and Woods Mill Road. Right when you walk in, you will be blown away by all of the options they have. Go visit my friends over over there. The owner, Joe, he is a great guy. You know that type of person where it feels like he doesn't know a stranger? That is Joe. He loves taking care of his customers, and he treats you like family, and his staff is just like him. They'll greet you with a smile, and they'll actually take the time to really get to know you and educate you on what you're getting. Whatever your budget is, they'll work with you for what you're looking for, whether it's a diamond heart jewelry necklace or maybe some stud earrings, or if you're thinking about popping the big question, guys, on Valentine's Day, Decor is the place to go. Look, it's the place where I got my engagement ring, and I absolutely love it. And I get so many compliments on it all the time. And they can size and set your ring in just 24 hours. That's the kind of unique and special service that you get there over at Decor. So go stop by Decor showroom today and tell them the Brooks sent you. Decor, always unique, always affordable.
On the day's top stories, it's the Opening Drive's Fresh Take.
Okay, prop bets are always fun for the Super Bowl, and Matthew Rocchio, who pays attention to this kind of thing, has a few prop bets for us for Super Bowl 58. LVIII.
So proud of you.
Thank you. LVI. Super Bowl Levy. Yeah.
I liked your idea, Dan, about just getting rid of the Roman numerals.
Yeah. Just call it 58.
They did it for 50. Remember Super Bowl 50 in Santa Clara? They just put a big 50 out there. Yeah.
Yeah, because Super Bowl L doesn't really work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Super Bowl L really does. Yeah, you can't. It's hard to make a. Yeah. How do you make a logo out of that?
Right. I have my favorite prop bet out of what you listed here.
Really? Go ahead. Rip it off right rip the Band-Aid off.
This just popped out off the page. Well, Taylor Swift and Travis, it kind of is adorbs. Will Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce appear in a commercial together?
Yeah. Ooh, I liked that one.
That was my favorite of this one.
I'm going to go no.
Really?
Too busy as schedules?
I don't think they had time to do it during the season. Maybe.
Her season or his?
Well, they were together during the entire holiday season, so maybe they got together in KC and were able to do something.
I feel like they would have had time. I would take that one.
I got the brand here. It's Zoom's ad because she's off in Brazil, he's back in Kansas City. So how do they talk to each other? Well, they get on a Zoom call. Oh. And then you don't even need them in studio to record it. You just record it on a Zoom call.
Sweet.
Bam, there's your commercial.
Yeah, that's great.
That's my favorite prop bet.
Okay.
Well, my favorite was that I put down here was earlier this season Randy discovered, or I believe you knew about it, but we talked about scoregami, being a thing that everybody loves, and there was a prop bet out there. Will the score of the game be a quote-unquote scoregami? And that means a score that has never happened in NFL history, and you can get that yes plus 2,500, no minus 10,000. I say just roll with it like a $5 bet on yes on that one, because there's like 1,000 permutations under like 100 total points that can still be hit in NFL history. So I say run with that one.
Yeah, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that 11-6 in the 1999 NFC Championship game was the first time that score had ever been the final score of an NFL game. So, yeah, that's exactly right. With all of the possibilities, you could have like a, 51-13 or something like that.
What's the over-under? We were talking
47 and a half.
47 and a half, okay.
Yep.
Another one that I like, and this comes up every single year, let's see, a favorite. Which colored Gatorade is poured? And I saw that Christian McCaffrey was asked. Some people were trying to say, what is your favorite Gatorade? And he said, I don't drink Gatorade. I drink Body Armor, because he's sponsored by Body Armor.
Smart.
So I don't know.
Okay, how about this one? I like this.
I'd go orange.
I'd go orange or yellow, which is quote unquote lime green, which was odd that they put a flavor in there instead of a color.
More than 2 players to attempt a pass. So that means maybe Pacheco or McCaffrey or somebody like that attempts a pass other than Mahomes and Brock Purdy. Yes, plus 164. No, minus 198.
I'm not going to take that. I think they keep it in the QB's hands, and you're not going to see anybody else touch the ball to throw it.
I can totally see like a Philly special type play happening here. So I'm going to say that does happen. I would bet on a third player attempting a pass.
After watching Travis Kelce throw the ball, I'd like to see him throw.
Yeah.
Yes, I would like to see that again. So I'm gonna say yes to that one. I think that's what's going to happen.
You guys want another one of the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce ones?
Sure.
All right, we have 2. We have the insane one, which is odds of a proposal on the field after the game. Full on Ian Johnson. Yes, plus 1060. No, minus 3,000.
I'm going to say no.
There's no way he does this.
No,
that would be insane.
That would take away from the Super Bowl championship, and I don't think he would ever do that.
If you can if you're trying to put $10 on a prop, there's no way you should put it yes plus 1060 on that one and not on plus 2,500 for scoregami. Like, if you're just being a lot, there's a lot of things that need to go into a proposal decision that are uncontrollable by you. Like, they're just game happening is a thing that the universe controls. Roll with that plus 2,500. I don't like that one.
And the Fiesta Bowl, by the way, is different. That is such bad form. After the Super Bowl, after your team wins the Super Bowl, to make it all about you, I can't imagine Travis Kelce would do that.
And I do like this one, though. This is a good one for your money, because we've seen this a bunch already, and I think this is good odds. Will Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce be seen kissing on TV after the game? Now, here's the thing. It's going to have to be a Kansas City Chiefs victory for this to happen in the first place. Yes, plus 110. No, minus 130. Not bad odds on either side, I think, on that one.
Didn't they?
Yes, to the championship game.
A little kiss after that one.
Yeah. Kissy kiss,
and she'll be down there when he comes up to the NFL Network podium, if indeed he's... I think even if he doesn't score, you want to interview Travis Kelce, right?
Yes.
So I would say that if they win, she'll be down on the field, and they'll have a little lip lock.
And then these aren't
maybe a tongue or two
involving Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce necessarily.
Easy,
but
Randy.
I did appreciate that DraftKings. I'm just going to keep plowing through.
What's wrong with you, man?
I'm just going to. DraftKings actually has a post on their website that is just Taylor Swift themes bets, and it's 22 any quarter to have a 22 plus points scored. Friendship bracelets, Travis Kelce or Kyle Juszczyk to score the first TD because of the jackets. The last great American dynasty, KC Chiefs to win by 22 plus points. Wildest dreams, Travis Kelce to score the first and last TD. So they've gone insane on the prop bets with Taylor Swift here.
Those are fun. First and last TD, I'll put a shilling on that one too. Why not? It'd be fun. Those are some of the prop bets. There's tons of them available at Circus Sports and at FanDuel and wherever you do your gambling. Coming up, we've got a late edition of The Fight, 8:45, because our buddy Robert Thomas is going to join us as the Blues get ready. Robbie, Tommy, he's coming up next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The St. Louis Blues back in action following the All-Star break, and they face off against the Buffalo Sabres tomorrow. It is a noon puck drop. You can catch the pregame show right here at 11 a.m. on 101 ESPN, your home for the St. Louis Blues. Interested in more Blues talk? Coming up right now, it is St. Louis Blues center Robert Thomas joining Danny, Randy, and Brooke here on 101 ESPN. That is your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American State heating and air conditioning dealer.
Getting you inside the Blues locker room.
What a goal by Robert Thomas!
It's time now for Blues forward Robert Thomas on the opening drive.
Driven by Pure Performance, the only stop for all your aftermarket vehicle needs.
1, 2, 3, 4!
Grimsley, Dan McLaughlin, Randy Carricker. We go to the celebrity line now, and our friend Robert Thomas is standing by. The Blues All-Star. Blues back in action tomorrow in Buffalo, and then Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, they are in Montreal. Robert, good morning. How are you doing this morning?
Doing well, guys. How are you?
Good. How was Toronto? How was that atmosphere of being around all the All-Stars?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Just my family got to be a part of everything, and they had so much fun, and I think that's what it's all about. Obviously, you personally have a blast and an exciting time, but to be able to share with your parents and family and kind of celebrate, all the things they've done for you is what meant the most to me.
What was your favorite moment that was hockey-related, and then what was your favorite moment that was non-hockey-related with All-Star Weekend? Because remember, I asked you last week who you would like to meet out of all those celebrities that were there, and you said the Biebs. Did you get to meet him?
Yeah, I did get to meet him. I think my favorite celebrity was Will Arnett. He was obviously our coach, but just an outgoing, pretty cool personality guy. He was hilarious, just sitting in the room, cracking jokes with us. So he'd be my favorite for sure. Kind of off the ice, just they had this big lounge set up for all the family and friends, and my parents, grandparents got to meet a bunch of the players and kind of just hang around, and that was their highlight of the whole weekend, and it was pretty fun.
You guys are creatures of habit, so it's every day for the most part on the ice. You got a little break. So what was it like for you and your teammates to get back on the ice and start this thing up?
Yeah, a little slow yesterday, but no, we're excited for the second half. We put ourselves in a good position where we're depending on ourselves to make a push to the playoffs. We don't have to depend on other teams. We're in a spot right now, and if we take care of business on our end, then we should be good. So I think that's our mindset, and we're pretty excited to.
Robert Thomas with us on 101 ESPN. You have been through it. You've had to chase a playoff spot before. Just from your own personal perspective, how can Robert Thomas best help the Blues make the playoffs from an individual standpoint? What do you want to do?
Yeah, I think just continue my 200-foot game. I think, we got some good teams coming down the pipeline, and, if I can do my best to try and limit the offense of some of these guys' top lines, I think it'll put our team in a good spot. So that's my main focus to continue improving on, and, the rest will take care of itself.
The announcement was made official this week that you guys will be facing the Blackhawks in the Winter Classic. How exciting is that to be in another Winter Classic and be playing at Wrigley?
Yeah, that's pretty special. I always love the outdoor games. It reminds you of being a kid, but just the energy and the atmosphere that's built around those. Obviously, family and friends get to come, and they're always just such a great event. And I haven't got a chance to play in Wrigley or see Wrigley yet, so I'm pretty excited. That's a bucket list one for sure.
How about up in Canada? Do the fans get into the NFL much and get involved with the Super Bowl? I mean, obviously down here in the United States, it's huge on Sunday. What's it like up in Canada?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's as big of a deal as it is in the U.S. I always remember watching it as a kid, so I would say it is still pretty big, but definitely not like it is down here, and pretty excited to watch it.
So we asked Joey Vitale what his go-to Super Bowl party food is. He said cocktail wieners. What about for Robert Thomas? What's your favorite food for a Super Bowl party?
I'm a big buffalo chicken dip. I think that's number one for me.
Good. And so you're going to Buffalo. So and you're also a guy that takes care of his body and you watch your diet. Will you have just a little bit of buffalo chicken dip tonight, maybe?
Probably not. No, we'll be in Montreal for the Super Bowl, so definitely no buffalo chicken dip there.
Okay, so good, but yeah, buffalo chicken dip is a great way to go. Robert, I also wanted to ask you, we've got this thing called The Fight where I do a trivia against a listener every single day, and it's coming up after your segment. If there was a Blues player to participate in the fight, what Blues player is the best at sports trivia and talking sports and things that they've seen in the past?
My answer always would have been Robert Bertuzzo. Obviously, he's not here, so I'm going to go with Kevin Hayes. Those guys, sometimes Jeopardy and stuff's on in the lounge before games, and I can't get a single answer right. It's actually quite pathetic, but they're pretty good at it.
I was watching Jeopardy yesterday, and they had a Super Bowl segment. And for whatever reason, Jeopardy people are terrible at sports. These people, the three people, could not answer a Super Bowl question. It infuriated me because I know sports. I'm saying, come on, you don't know that? You don't know who Chuck Noll is? Come on.
That's funny. Yeah, no, I'm horrific at it. I think I may be in like 5 years got one answer right.
But we call Randy Megamind because he just dominates every single week. But I do want to ask you, since we're talking about Super Bowl, who do you think is going to win this weekend?
I came to St. Louis at probably the perfect time when the Chiefs got good, and I've been the biggest bandwagon fan of all time, so I'm sticking with the Chiefs. I think they got it.
Good. And you've gone over there a few times, right, to see them play?
Yeah, I've been to a couple games. Pretty cool atmosphere. I was at the one they actually lost to the Bengals, and I've been to one or two other ones. But always fun supporting them, and I really enjoy football. So I've been a big fan of them.
Good. Well, have fun watching the Super Bowl. I know you got games this weekend. Do you like the day games, by the way? Noon start St. Louis time, or are you okay with day games?
Yeah, I'm fine with day games. Day games are great. I love them. So, I'm pretty pumped. They got two coming up back to back.
Good. We'll be tuned in. Robert, thanks so much. Have a great trip, and we'll see you when you get back to town.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
See you later. Robert Thomas with us on 101 ESPN.
It sounds like he was driving to practice.
It does. I think that's why he had to switch to 8:30, which is absolutely fine.
They got a fly today, so they practice a little bit earlier.
I wonder if they get off to a slow start, or if in general, the teams that are playing have gotten off to slow starts.
I wonder if that, when you have that much time off, it has to be hard. And I know they skate and they work out, but like he said, it was slow yesterday getting back on the ice as a team.
But you know what? It takes about 5 or 10 minutes, and someone knocks your head off, and you say, okay, it's time to get things going again.
We're back.
That's what you need, is that big hit to get things started.
Maybe so.
Yeah, let's have that tomorrow.
Then his chicken dip would come up.
Buffalo chicken dip. He's not having any tonight, so that'll be good.
Okay.
All right. That's Dan. That's Brooke. That's Matthew. I'm Randy. And coming up, we do have a late edition of The Fight. All you need to do is text in 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO with your name and the word fight. And perhaps Matthew will pick you to fight me next on 101 ESPN. Hey, you know that we're going to have a lot of rain in St. Louis just in the next couple of months. It's going to be spring, and we're going to have a lot of rain, and you want to make sure that your gutters are performing as they should. You don't want to have water coming over the middle of your gutters. You want to have the water going to the downspout and then coming down and out through the downspout. Well, at gutterpros.com, water goes where they tell it to go. And if you have a problem with your gutters and you do see the water coming over the middle, or if your gutters are rusted and not attractive, or maybe they're just coming unattached, you need to get in touch with Gutter Pros at gutterpros.com. Make an appointment. They'll come out to your house. They've got a wonderful staff that's going to provide you an estimate, a free estimate, and they're very low pressure. They're going to say, okay, here's what we recommend. Here's the price. And then they'll let you make your decision. It's really a wonderful St. Louis company. As a matter of fact, the general and sales manager is from the St. Louis area. He really knows St. Louis and really cares about you. They're A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, and they also get 4.9 out of 5 stars on their reviews. It's gutterpros.com. Any question about your gutters on your home or your business, make an appointment today at gutterpros.com.
Welcome to the fight. In the red corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Carricker.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke Brinsley here alongside Danny Mac, Randy Carricker, and Matthew Rocchio. And it is now time for the fight. And our fighter today is EZ. EZ, how are you doing today?
Doing good. How are you guys?
Good. So is EZ short for something?
First name's Eric. Just I kind of got DZ as a nickname from a long time ago.
There you go. Is this your first time facing Randy in the fight?
On this one, yes. I went against him on the 4 o'clock fight years ago, but first time on this one.
And how did you fare?
I lost spectacularly.
Okay. Well, it's time to change that. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right, question number 1, easy. Who is the only player in Major League Baseball history to post 3+ seasons with 30 home runs, 30 stolen bases, and 100 RBI? Is it David Wright, Vlad Guerrero, or Barry Bonds?
Bonds feels like the obvious one. But I'm going to go David Wright.
Is that your final answer? Easy.
Final answer.
Question 2, who holds the record for single-season catches by a tight end with 116? Tony Gonzalez, Zach Ertz, Dallas Clark.
Tony Gonzalez, final answer.
Okay. Question 3, please.
Longtime Jaguar great Jimmy Smith posted all his career stats in Jacksonville, but was drafted by which NFC squad? Was it the Seattle Seahawks, Dallas Cowboys, or Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
I believe it was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And while we're on the subject of wide receivers, Torry Holt got robbed.
Yes.
Again.
He sure did.
Yes.
He's going to get in, though, easy, so hang with him. All right, question 4. Which outfielder was the last Cardinals player to homer in his first career at bat? Tyler O'Neill, Stephen Piscotty, Lane Thomas.
I don't think it was O'Neill. He only homers on opening day. I'm going to say Lane Thomas.
Lane Thomas. Okay, your final answer. We're going to go get Randy and see how he'll do on this Friday edition of The Fight. How do you feel that you did today? That doesn't sound very confident.
It's always more intimidating once you get in here.
Yeah, I always feel like I do better if I'm not on here.
That's how I feel at home when I'm playing or watching along with Jeopardy, as Robert Thomas was talking about earlier. I'm like, man, I'm crushing this. And then I'm sure in that real life situation, it's a lot harder. Randy's now in here. Randy, say hi to EZ, your fight.
EZ, good morning. Thanks for listening. Thanks for playing. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. Hope you have a great weekend.
All right, Randy, ready for question number 1?
I guess so.
Question number 1. Who is the only player in Major League Baseball history to post 3+ seasons with 30 home runs, 30 stolen bases, and 100 RBI?
The only logical choice here is Barry Bonds, so I will go with him.
Final answer?
Yes, sir.
Question 2. Who holds the record for single-season catches by a tight end with 116?
116 catches by a tight end. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Ken McAfee, when he was at Notre Dame, did that. But are we talking the NFL?
Yes.
Oh, NFL. Okay. I'll go with Tony Gonzalez then.
Is that your final answer, Randy?
Yes, final answer, sir.
Question 3, please.
Longtime Jaguar great Jimmy Smith posted all his career stats in Jacksonville, but was drafted by which NFC squad?
How about them Cowboys? He was drafted by the Cowboys, I believe.
Are you ready for question 4?
I believe I am, Daniel.
Which outfielder was the last Cardinals player to homer in his first career at bat?
First career at bat. So somebody has done it since Adam Wainwright, because Waino was not an outfielder. Somebody's done it since Chris Richard, who was a first baseman. And was it Mike Fitzgerald, the catcher, that did it? Can we do the old lifeline here, Daniel?
Tyler O'Neill, Stephen Piscotty, Lane Thomas.
Interesting. I got a 33% chance of getting this one right.
Mm-hmm. That's what happens with the lifeline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm going to say it was not Stephen Piscotty. So that gives me Tyler O'Neill
and Lane Thomas.
I believe that I'm going to go off the board here, and I'm going to say that it's Lane Thomas because it shouldn't be. That's why I'm going to go with it.
The Lane train.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead and ring the bell.
We have a winner in today's fight. Does Randy Carricker go with a clean sweep for the week? Was it a little bit too easy? Or does Easy walk away with a win of his own? Ring that bell.
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker. The Fight is driven by Car Shield. Plans to fit any budget. Visit carshield.com today.
I'm sorry, Easy. Randy Carricker got you 3-1 today.
Another spectacular loss to Randy.
There it is. There it is.
Oh, man. Thank you so much for listening. We do appreciate it. Have a great Super Bowl weekend.
Yep, you too, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Don't forget, time is a flat circle. Who is the only player in MLB history to post 3+ seasons with 30 home runs, 30 stolen bases, and 100 RBI? Is, in fact, Barry Bonds with 5, although I would expect Ronald Acuna to probably change that question a little bit when he gets his third, probably in the next year or two.
Yeah.
Who holds a single-season catch record by tight end in the NFL history with 116 is in Zach Ertz, who did it with the Philadelphia Eagles. Tony Gonzalez's career high was 102 with the Kansas City Chiefs. Longtime Jaguar great Jimmy Smith posted all his career stats in Jacksonville, but was drafted by the Dallas Cowboys in the second round. He has to be the only player in NFL history who didn't catch a pass until he was 26 and still finished with 12,000 receiving yards.
Pretty good.
That's insane. He didn't play his first 3 years out of college because he was a special teamer as a second-round wide receiver with the Cowboys. Got a ring, though. It was a pretty good team they got drafted to. Then he gets appendicitis, and then he's out of the NFL for in his third year. Then he comes back with the Jaguars and goes off for 12,000 yards.
Amazing.
Unbelievable what Jimmy Smith did. And then which outfielder was the last Cardinals player to hit a homer in his first career at bat? Did Randy just... What the...
My chair just fell.
That was so scary. All of a sudden, you just dropped down.
I'm sinking.
I'm gonna keep my
lost you for a second.
So the YouTube over here to to my left has like a delay.
Check it out.
So I'm just going to keep watching until Randy just drops out of view completely. There it is. And number 4, it was in fact Lane Thomas, the last player of the Cardinals to homer in his first career at bat. He did it just 2 seasons after Paul DeYoung did it. It was 2017 and 2019, separating Paul DeYoung and Lane Thomas doing that. A 3-1 win for Randy Carricker in today's fight. Thank you so much for joining the show, Easy.
I thought Marc Worrell, a relief pitcher, homered in his first at bat.
He is another one.
Okay.
He did it after Waino, and then since then it's been Paul DeYoung and Lane Thomas.
Okay. Off of Greg Holland, I remember that one for Paul DeYoung. Lane Thomas, I can't remember who he hit it off of.
I can't either.
But we got it. We figured it out. Yep. Wasn't as easy for Easy as he thought.
Oh, Dan,
that's a Randy joke.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
I love it.
Well, that's a Randy joke.
Yeah. That was great.
Thanks to listener John Fitzgerald, who has he brought in a little bit of the delicious First Watch food for us this morning. We love our listeners, and John, thank you so much for having that delivered and bringing it to us. Brooke is doing the heart sign.
Poor John.
Yeah, so
John is the best. He also interacts a lot on social media.
He does. And on our YouTube chat. So thanks to John. Coming up here on 101 ESPN. Let me get this thing here. Let's see. RHR.
That'd be a Rush Hour Reset.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay.
Or Ryan O'Reilly.
That's ROR. So, yeah.
Rush
we've got our Rush Hour
Reset. Got it.
Rush Hour Reset. Coming up next here, it's going to be 9 o'clock here on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and I want to tell you about why I love Metro Transit so much. It's so easy to use. I actually used it to go to a Blues game. I was able to use their app. It was easy to find what time I needed to get there. We have a Metro link that's just right over by our house. It was an easy 10-minute ride over to Enterprise Center. It drops you off right in front of there. I didn't have to worry about the hassle of parking, getting an Uber after a game, which if you've done that before, you know how big of a hassle it is. But even if you don't ride, there's many benefits.
And Brooke, living in Creve Coeur, I just drive on over to the Clayton facility and I take the Metrolink from there to go to games, and parking in there is free. You don't have to deal with traffic. You just hop on the Metrolink to go down and come back, and it's really, really easy. And these guys see me every day when I take the recycling over to the big bin here at 101 ESPN. And I'm concerned about the environment, and if you're concerned about the environment, riding Metro reduces your carbon footprint and helps to improve air quality. So there's so many things to love about Metro. Don't let preconceived notions hold you back. Give Metro a chance and experience the benefits for yourself. In short, thanks to Metro, you don't have to drive to thrive.
Stories of the day on the opening drive with a Rush Hour Reset.
Time for the Rush Hour Reset. I was talking to Chris next door at Casey during the fight about Torry Holt not being elected to the Hall of Fame, and it really is not a reflection on Torry or his career. It's more a reflection on the process. And I don't think anybody in this room begrudges Andre Johnson making the Hall of Fame. He's a Hall of Fame quality player, and there's a limit to how many players can be inducted in any given year. I just look at it from this perspective. Reggie Wayne, Torry Holt, Andre Johnson were the three finalists for the Hall of Fame among receivers this year. I would rate Torry Holt number 1, Reggie Wayne number 2, and Andre Johnson number 3. And what bothers me is that it's not a football process as much as it is a political process with 50 voters.
That's my issue with it, because that's the only reason that I could really think about. Is he just continuing to be a casualty of that narrative that there was so much other talent around him? But Randy, you pointed this out earlier, is that he was still able to do all that with all that talent around him, all those other guys who are around him. I think, if anything, that says more about him as a player. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I know that he eventually will get in. It was just very frustrating to see this happen once again for Torry.
Pretty simple stat. Randy, you have it. For about a decade, he was the most in terms
2000 to 2009, more catches for more yards than any other receiver, right there in the prime of Terrell Owens' career, right there in the prime of Randy Moss's career, right there in the prime of Marvin Harrison's career, more catches for more yards than any of those guys during his career.
There you go. Pretty simple. Should be in.
Yeah, pretty simple. And it's sad, but it is the case. Meanwhile, an interesting baseball note, and it came from Josh Hader, who was on the Foul Territory podcast, and they do a great job, by the way. And Josh Hader is noted for telling teams that he'll only go one inning because he's worried about him. Here's what Josh Hader had to say to the Foul Territory podcast.
It sucks that the business had to come in that way. Because it is. At the end of the day, I love playing this game. I'm going to do anything I can to win. But also, you got to think about the health of yourself and being able to provide for your family. Now, I was, like you said, I was going through the arbitration system, and I was with the Brewers. It's not like the Padres put me through that process, but the system told me that the way that any reliever, not even just myself, but any reliever is valued based off saves. And you know, for me, at the time, I was going multiple innings, going from the 4th inning maybe to the 7th, also doing 2 2/3 save outings and just different things like that, like, you know, which I was fine with. But when I was told to my face that that's not worth anything. Like, you got to get saves. That's where I was like, well, I'm not going to blow my arm out if you're not going to invest in me. So my investment back was, I'll get you the inning, I'll get you the saves, and we'll do everything. But you got to put a team and a bullpen around to do that.
Okay, I've got two things here. Number one, the guy's made $35 million over the last 4 years. So if he can't provide for his family with $35 million, I don't know how smart Josh Hader is, but I would say that if he can't provide for his family for their lifetimes with $35 million, there's an issue there that he needs to address. The second thing, Matthew, can I hear the first 10 seconds of that one more time, please?
It sucks that the business had to come in that way. Because it is. At the end of the day, I love playing this game. I'm going to do anything I can to win.
No, you aren't. You aren't. You aren't doing anything. You just told us you aren't doing anything you can to win. And if I'm a teammate of Josh Hader, who is a competitor, I'm furious about that. Now, I don't know how many players are competitors, but he's not doing everything he can to win by telling the team, no, I'm only going to give you 3 outs in the 9th inning.
And I agree with you 100%, but I think another thing that is very interesting that he's talking about there is how much that arbitration process really changed his mindset. Is that something that concerns you guys? Because we hear it all the time from players about how they really changed their perspective on everything after that arbitration process. Remember, we had Tommy Edman on the other day, and he mentioned he was glad that he didn't have to go through that arbitration process because of the things you hear. They say it won't be personal, and then it turns into personal, and then you also see yourself reduced to numbers and statistics, and that's how they value you. So that's how it changes a lot of the players' mindset. So I agree with you. I don't like that it kind of takes away the team aspect of it, but it also shows how much analytics has taken over the process of things.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, fans don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it, but it's a business. And he parlayed that into, what, $95 million?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to argue with what he's saying from the business perspective. From a fan's perspective, to your point, Randy, I want to hear him say, I'm going to do everything I can to win, and then do it. Go through with it, and they're a better team when he pitches the 8th and the 9th. And that just shows you how much the game has changed, right or wrong. I would assume his teammates, you know what, they're doing the same thing.
Yeah,
they're trying to get the most money, too.
It's all about them. It's not about the team. It's not about the organization. It's not about the city. It's not about the fans. It's about them as individuals to get every penny that's on that table, and competitiveness and winning be damned.
I still, from his perspective, I understand it. I really do. I don't like it, but that's where the game is. That's where sports is.
Right, and that's the other thing is I think about it from a prism of the 80s and 90s and being with players, being around players that hated losing and would do anything they could to win a game, being around Willie McGee in 1983 when he had the bad knees, being around Tom Herr in 83 when he had the bad knees, being around Bruce Sutter when he was taking a couple 3 cortisone shots a year so that he could get on the mound to compete to help his team win. Even being around people like Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina who just hated losing and still hate losing. But the sport, and to Hader's credit, he's saying that this is the way they want us to be. This is the way they tell us to be. But there is no concern about losing anymore. And unfortunately for us, he's a winner in the financial department. He's never going to pitch in a World Series and win it because he's just not committed enough to winning.
Well, he's down in Houston. He's going to have a shot. They're going to be pretty good.
Yeah,
so
but
he'll have a chance to go to a World Series.
He will cost them a game because he's not competitive. He's too important of a player to not be a competitor.
See, I think in the postseason it changes. I think guys look at the postseason as opposed to the long haul of the regular season, and there is more of a look at winning as opposed to let me get mine. The one thing I'll say, too, is that when you look at Willie and you look at Bruce, it's a different era, which you mentioned, but there's people ready to take his spot. And that's the other thing. The money dictates if you play or not, and those guys had to worry about a spot on the roster being taken.
They absolutely did. But from his perspective last year, heading into last year, he had made $25 million over the previous 3 seasons, $24 million, and $35 over the last 4, including last year. Again, I don't live in that world. He needed to have the $100 million. Maybe he's buying a $100 million home. I don't know. But he felt like he needed to have that. Again, it is, like you say, it's a different era because a long time ago, well, not too long ago, people got into baseball to win rings.
Yeah, they
did.
actually wanted to compete.
Yeah.
Well, and they still do now. I think it's just with the difference in the eras. What changed in between that time? We had the whole Moneyball change happening where you have the analytics. And believe me, I'm still a fan of analytics. It has a place in the game. But specifically, when you hear players talk about what teams are looking for, what front offices are even saying they're looking for,
Right.
what agents are saying they're looking for, it all boils down to that analytics are used to drive money. And that's the big difference there.
You just hit it on the head. His agent is in his ear, and the Players Association is in his ear saying, you know what, if you don't stay healthy, we can't maximize what the next deal is for the next player. You're a benchmark of what we're trying to do with the players to get them the most money. So he's hearing it from both sides, I'm sure.
And the numbers thing, it drives me crazy because part of what makes Mike Trout great is that he walks a lot. And he goes to the plate with the idea of walking. Here's a guy with runner on second with less than 2 out who's got unbelievable bat-to-ball skills. But rather than trying to get the base hit to score the run, he's not swinging the bat. He wants to take a walk and leave it to the next guy, which is, again, part of the numbers, part of analytics, part of what front offices want, but does it help you win the game? When you have... let me just throw a name, Anthony Rendon, Anthony Rendon of the last 3 years. Would you rather have him at the plate with runners at first and second or Trout swinging the bat with a runner at second?
I think I'd rather have Trout than just about anybody.
I would too.
Yeah.
You know.
But they've told him, the analytics people have said, walk.
Sure.
Well, you already have an example with Hader last season. If you guys remember, in 2023, the Padres bullpen was really depleted, and there was a lot of chances where he could have come in and helped them a little bit sooner in games, but he didn't.
Right.
So that goes to with what you're talking about is that when it's a team aspect thing, it does hurt the game in that way.
I don't blame him. Maybe I'm in the minority here, but I don't blame him for pitching one inning and keeping himself in the best position to maximize the money he's going to make, because the shelf life of these guys, and to your point, Randy, he's made a lot of money, but the shelf life of these players, generally speaking, is very short. So they're trying to stay in the game.
And when I'm a season ticket holder spending $150 a pop for 81 home games.
Sure, you want to see the best chance to win.
Exactly. I'm doing that because I'm buying that ticket for hope. And he is not providing that hope for me when they have to bring Luis Garcia in the 8th rather than Josh Hader.
And I don't like it whatsoever. I agree with you. I don't like it whatsoever. But like Dan said, it is a business at the end of the day, and he's an employee. And he found out through that arbitration case just what exactly they wanted from him, and he executed that.
And don't be disingenuous. Don't say you'll do anything to win and then say, well, I'm not going to pitch an 8th inning.
I wonder if he goes multiple innings now that he has his deal.
He might. Yeah,
you know, that he extends every once in a while, get 4 outs, 5 outs, that kind of thing.
But he's in an organization where they probably won't force him to do that, too.
I think a lot of teams, I mean, it's kind of like here in St. Louis, Ryan Helsley is in the same boat.
Yep.
You know, he's not going to go appearances in a series. More than likely, he might go game 1, game 3, he might go 2 and 4, but you're not going to see him very often go back to back. There's too much money on the table for him once he hits free agency.
So Josh Hader giving us some material at the very least. Hey, when the Cardinals have their first on-field workout next Wednesday, what's the main thing you want to hear to make you feel good about where they're headed? That's next on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and I want to tell you why I love the Missouri Athletic Club so much. This year, I set 2 really big goals for myself. One, that is getting back into tennis. That's a sport I've played my entire life, and also getting in great shape for my wedding day coming up in June. And thanks to everyone over at the Missouri Athletic Club, I'm already off to a great start, even though I'm eating tacos over here right now. I'm going to go work out with Christine later. She's my personal trainer, and I'm working out with her twice a week, and she has been fantastic. They always provide a wonderful experience, and that's why I love my MAC.
.918 in St. Louis, your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. With Brooke Grimsley and Dan McLaughlin, I'm Randy Carricker. Michael Lombardi has a book out. He's going to join us coming up at the bottom of the hour. But the Cardinals start spring training. Their first full squad workout, well, not full squad, but pitchers and catchers, will take place on Valentine's Day, on Wednesday. And as we start to learn about what's happening down in Jupiter, what do you guys want to hear first? What do you want to know that's happening down there that will make you feel comfortable and confident about the 2024 Cardinals?
That they signed Jordan Montgomery. No, I'm joking. Maybe. That actually would make me feel a little bit better. But still, I think, seriously, Brennan Donovan coming back, because as we know, he also got surgery recently in October, and that everything is good for him. I think that he's going to be a huge part of the Cardinals once again this season. We saw how much the numbers dipped offensively when he was not there, and so I think he's a big key for their success this season. And also that Tommy Edman looks good back from surgery, because if both of those guys are still dealing with injury issues, you can kind of see how we would almost be not as bad as last year, but remember how quickly things fell apart with all those injuries.
I would say, will the rotation hold up? And seeing these guys make starts every 50, I mean, it's an older rotation. So will they hold up would be my number one thing. And then 2 would be the return of Nolan Arenado to being Nolan Arenado. I mean, if they're going to go anywhere, their 2 big guys have to be their 2 big guys, and that's Arenado and Goldie. So those are the 2 biggest points I'd make going into spring training, which is all subject for debate because on a daily basis down there, things change.
Right. And Dan, you remember in 2011, we found out right off the bat that Adam Wainwright needed the Tommy John surgery, and that was a huge setback right off the bat for that team. But they obviously were able to bounce back and win the World Series. But I'm with you on a couple of fronts. Number one, Arenado and Gorman, the position players last year that had the health issues, I want to hear that they are spry and bouncing around. But here's the other thing that I want to hear. And Katie Wu and Derek Gould and Jeff Jones, the whole group that's going to be down there, they watch every day. I want to hear that with the return of Daniel Descalso to the coaching staff, that there is an emphasis placed upon the little things, the fundamentals that Tony La Russa worked on feverishly every single spring. And I think that's something that Daniel Descalso brings to the table. From a major league perspective, he went through those spring trainings where every single day there was something little that was worked on that wound up being a big thing during the course of the season. Those fundamentals that fell apart for the 2023 Cardinals, I want to see those worked on and hear about those being worked on during 2024 spring training. And oh, by the way, This is one of the things about the World Baseball Classic last year when you had 18 players that were out of spring training for a substantial amount of time. The Cardinals just didn't have the opportunity to work on those little things like they had in the past.
I would love to see Daniel Descalso be very hands-on when it comes to that, like Skip was. You guys both saw it. Skip was very hands-on in that approach, and I think that really helped with the fundamentals as well.
I think he could run spring training. And
Daniel?
Yeah, Joe Pettini did it under Tony. It was his job to map it out, so to speak. And, one day we're working on cutoffs, another day we're working on base running, which I'm sure they did a year ago. But I'm with you, Randy. They've got to get back to fundamentally sound baseball. Their defensive runs saved were way down.
20th in the league.
They did not run the bases as well. Usually, under the Cardinals, and Ali Marmol did this too under Mike Schilt, is that they have a secondary guy running the entire spring training. And I would imagine that's probably with input from others, Daniel Descalso.
What about Yadier Molina? Do you guys think that he will be around for spring training? Because it seems like we're still trying to figure out what his role and how much he will be around. Will he be around? Because as you guys saw during spring training, one of my favorite things to watch is how Yadier Molina worked with all the catchers.
I hope so. You got $87.5 million wrapped up into Contreras, and there were times he was just not at the level he needed to be defensively as a major league catcher. So I'm with you, Brooke. I think it's very important that he gets down there and works with Yadi. And not that he's a miracle worker, but he can help.
And Yadi already took Herrera under his wing, and I would think that now that we know Herrera is going to be at the major league level, that his advancement needs to take another step because he's probably going to play at least 60 games this year, right? I wouldn't expect that Contreras would play more than 100. So 100 for Will, maybe 110, but 50 or 60 for Herrera. And not only from the catcher's standpoint, but when we talk about the fundamentals, when we talk about the little things, when we talk about the competitiveness that we were talking about in the last segment, there are things that Yadi brings to the table that will make a team better that we never hear about. And having him in camp would be a huge benefit.
Attention to detail.
Yeah.
And as a player, as a starting catcher, you can help all you want, but you're not a coach. So we always say, well, he's a coach on the field. He is. But when your playing days are over, your focus is trying to make that player better. Wilson Contreras or Herrera, these guys. And so the 100% of the focus, if he's in camp, is to try to help these individuals as opposed to, well, I'm helping them, but I'm also getting ready for a season.
One other point here, because Katie Wu has brought this up in players that she talked to last year, that they, and I think it's natural, didn't have as much respect for the teachings of players that had not done much or anything at the major league level. Can you have more respect for a player if you're a Cardinal than you have for Yadier Molina? So if he's in camp, he is going to soak up all of that respect. For the people that, and this is not an affront to people like Stubby Clapp and Pop Warner, but these young players, they never saw those guys play. If Yadi comes to you and says, no, this is how we did it when we went to the World Series, it's just a different animal altogether.
I think one of the things that hurts you if you haven't had a lot of MLB experience is that players are making huge amounts of money, and they're going to say, why am I going to listen to this guy?
Yep.
And that's part of it, and unfortunately that's part of the game. Instead of taking the attitude of being eyes wide open and saying, help me be better. And sometimes the money gets in the way of doing that. I truly believe that.
I 100% agree with that, too. And that kind of makes me think of when you look at the pitching coaches, what do you guys think about Kiefer and him joining?
Dean Kiefer, former Cardinal, actually was coached by former 101 ESPN staffer Jason Simontachi in the Cardinal minor league system.
Really?
Yep. Yeah. And he has, this is the thing, sure, he has major league experience, but it's 30 games. I don't, and I'm in the fight every day. I don't remember Dean Kiefer's career.
Oh, I do. Good lefty, little soft tosser.
Yeah, well, a lefty, a little soft tosser.
Yeah.
Let's just
okay.
30 games.
Yeah, bottom line, it was 30 games.
Right, exactly.
It was not a lot of major league experience.
So if you're Yoho Romero, you've already got more games than Dean Kiefer pitched. Now, he might be a brilliant coach. Bill Belichick never played in the NFL, and by many accounts was one of the best coaches. Well, he was, but not the best coach, but maybe one of the best. But Tony La Russa didn't have substantial major league time and was a great major league manager. Whitey Herzog wasn't a star player at the major league level. One of the best managers, if not the best manager that we've ever seen. So, and Joe Torre at the other end of the spectrum was a great major league player and a really good major league manager. Our three Hall of Fame managers. My point here is that you can be great, but I think, as you mentioned, Dan, in this day and age, and with players saying it, it really does become an advantage to have the cachet of having been a good major league player.
I know what you're looking forward to. You can't wait to see those videos or hear about sending Ray Sweeper.
Oh, Brooke, I can't believe that it took me this long to think of it, and you had to bring it up.
That's what you're waiting for.
That Sweeper. I just think that it's the coolest pitch ever.
I think Dean Kekeffer, too, is able to, having played in the major leagues, so going back to the point that you made, is taking the information with Dusty Blake and maybe dumbing it down because he's very analytically oriented to dumb it down to players and communicate that way. I think that's important. You got to have a conduit if you're going to have a very analytically driven staff, and Dusty is that. You got to find a way to get the information but make it simple for the player.
Yep. That's Dan. That's Brooke. I'm Randy. Coming up, Michael Lombardi, longtime NFL executive, has a new book out about football called Football Done Right. Award-winning sportscaster Jim Nantz does the foreword, and we're going to talk to Michael Lombardi about his book next on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and this year we decided to make a major upgrade to our home by updating our bathroom. We have a house over in U City. It's over 100 years old, and look, we absolutely love it, but we don't exactly like our bathroom. And this is the first time we've ever done a big project like this before, and we weren't really sure where to start. So we decided to reach out to one of our great sponsors here at 101 ESPN, and that is E&B Granite. E&B Granite's team visited our house for a free consultation, and they sketched out a vision of really how to transform our bathroom. My favorite part of working with E&B Granite was stopping by their showroom to explore their large selection of in-stock custom countertops and cabinet options. Jen, she was the one who was working with us, and she has just been fantastic. She had so many great ideas for us that really fit within our budget. And that's what they do there over at E&B Granite. Their friendly and experienced team has been turning visions into a reality for over 20 years. So go and schedule your free consultation by calling 314-645-9300 or go online to embgranite.com or stop by their incredible showroom. Make sure you tell them that I sent you.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues are back in action following the All-Star break tomorrow against the Buffalo Sabres. It's a noon puck drop, which means you can catch the pregame show right here on 101 ESPN starting at 11 a.m. In some news yesterday, the 2024 class of the Pro Football Hall of Fame was announced. Julius Peppers, Dwight Freeney, Patrick Willis, Devin Hester, Andre Johnson, and then linebacker Randy Gradishar and defensive tackle Steve McMichael were the senior finalists. Torry Holt, again, not in the Hall of Fame once more. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
You by Sumner One.
Grimsley, Dan McLaughlin, Randy Carricker, the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis. Michael Lombardi, longtime NFL executive, has a new book out called Football Done Right, setting the record straight on the coaches, players, and history of the NFL. And Michael Lombardi joins us now on the Celebrity Line on 101 ESPN. Michael, thanks so much for your time. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We're excited to have you. First of all, who you got on Sunday?
You know, I mean, my heart's with San Francisco. I started my career there with Coach Walsh, and I got to drive him around, and I got my first Super Bowl ring from him there. So my heart's there. You know, I think the Chiefs are really good. I have a hard time thinking that, you know, the way they've played lately. And let's be honest, I mean, San Francisco's played their two worst games and still got here. So I went with the Niners. With all that being said, I went with the Niners at 27-23. But don't bet it. I don't know what that one I don't feel good about.
I'm the exact same way. Hey, and as we get started, because you're on the air here in St. Louis, I want to start with this. I was very happy that you wrote about Don Coryell and how great he was and what a bad situation he was in here in St. Louis. It really is one of the more remarkable runs in history, that with Mr. Bidwell as the owner, that Don Coryell had the success here in St. Louis that he had.
Yeah, thank you. You read that. I thought it was a great story that here's a guy that just writes a letter and to an owner, and the owner actually reads the letter, you know, and that's how he creates his job. I mean, Coryell is a fascinating – a lot of our careers are judged by who we work for, what owner, you know, and, you know, had Coryell worked for DeMarlo, he might have won 5 Super Bowls, right?
Right.
And so – that's what I tried to point out in the book, that the owner makes a huge difference in terms of the coach's career, and I think Coryell proves that perfectly.
Going back to the Super Bowl this weekend, there's going to be many different keys to the games, and everybody's looking at Patrick Mahomes, Brock Purdy, looking at the Chiefs' defense, looking at Christian McCaffrey. But what do you believe will be the true difference maker that will lead one team to winning the Super Bowl?
Well, for the 49ers to win, they have to play better up front. All their money is in the defensive line. You know, that defensive line has got to take the game over. If you look at what the kryptonite was for the Chiefs in the Super Bowl against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the COVID year with nobody in the stadium, it was the defensive front of the Bucs dominating the game, and Mahomes was really not able to make a play. So I think that's really what has to happen. The last time the Chiefs lost to the Raiders defensive front dominated that game. So it's really going to come down to the 49ers dominating the game. And then secondly, what I think the Chiefs have to do is they've got to be able to play man-to-man and win. They've got to win. If they're going to play man-to-man on the outside, on the receivers, on Samuel, on Ayuk, on Kittle, they got to play really well, and they got to tackle really well. Tackling is going to be the key to the game, because if they tackle well, the Niners get a ton of yards after the catch, and Purdy's very good at putting the ball in the right spot at the right time. So for me, those are the two areas that I would say for both teams to win.
Speaking of Purdy, do you buy into the narrative surrounding him that he's just a game manager and he's just reaping the rewards of all the talent around him?
I think it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life, really. I mean, the people that say that have no idea what they're talking about when it comes to football and understanding the quarterback position. Let's just have a frank conversation here, okay? Kurt Warner in your town, okay? He goes to Green Bay as an undrafted free agent out of Northern Iowa. He gets up there, and he had great success in Northern Iowa. They couldn't get him to throw the ball. They couldn't get him to throw it. They cut him because he just kind of got bottled up. He got too, how do I want to say it? He got too overwhelmed by the moment, right? Okay, so no big deal. That happens to young players. He comes back to Des Moines. He works at a supermarket. He plays for the Iowa Barnstormers, and they bring him in. And he has this incredible career in St. Louis, and he takes over when Trent Green gets hurt. He's got Akeem, Isaac Holt, Torry Holt, Marshall Faulk. Nobody called him a game manager. Nobody said he was. Everybody said he's great. Like, I don't understand the reason Kurt Warner was great, which he is, and Brock Purdy's not great. Like, I don't get that. Like, they both overcame these incredible odds to get to where they had to go. Why can't we love them both?
Michael Lombardi, author of Football Done Right, setting the record straight on the coaches, players, and history of the NFL. It was Torry Holt trying to make history last night by being inducted or at least getting into the Hall of Fame. He's left out another year. What did you think of that?
Well, I thought the real injustice was Antonio Gates, in all honesty. Look, I love Devin Hester, and I think Devin Hester was great, in terms of you didn't want to kick the ball to him. And he was amazing in terms of what he was able to do when he got the football in his hands. And as he was, and he kind of was, he just got scared to death to try to make sure you weren't going to do it. But do you realize Antonio Gates leads all tight ends in touchdown passes? Do you realize Antonio Gates had a better career in terms of numbers than Shannon Sharp, Dave Casper, and other guys? There's only 3 tight ends that actually, when you break down the numbers, are even better. So, like, the guy had 11,000 yards. 11,000 yards, right? I mean, Gronkowski only has 9,200 yards in his career. He's going to get it. And Gronkowski has 92 touchdowns. And he's going to get it on the first ballot, right? This guy's got 116 touchdowns. He's got 11,000 yards, and they ignored him. But that's why I wrote Gridiron Genius. That's why I wrote Football Done Right. Because that committee needs to be revamped. It becomes a political game. Buddy Parker's not in the Hall of Fame. We would not have nickel defense if it wasn't for Buddy Parker. We would not have 2-minute offense and 2-minute defense if it wasn't for Buddy Parker. Like, we don't, and he doesn't get in. He doesn't get in. Nobody's arguing for him. The committee is broken. I mean, it's almost like the Warren Commission. Like, they just don't get it.
And Michael, with Buddy Parker, just from a personal standpoint, here's a guy, he's the only guy on the ballot. He needs to get 80%. Why do you think, beyond the qualifications that are there, why would you devastate a family and deprive them he's got Hall of Fame credentials. Why deprive somebody the pleasure of their father or grandfather being in the Hall of Fame?
I can't answer that because they don't respect it. Yeah. I'll give you another one. They don't respect what he did. That's the only explanation. Okay, let's talk Marty Schottenheimer. All right, Marty Schottenheimer has 200 regular season wins. Okay, there are only 8 men in the history of this sport, 8 out of 531 that have called themselves head coaches in the NFL that have 200 or more wins. 8. And Marty can't even get a sniff. He can't even get into the top 15. And you tell me the committee knows what they're doing?
Yeah, great point. Exactly right. Hey, I wanted to do one more thing with you because I love these sorts of conversations as a former NFL executive. Teams, a lot of times, and we see it with the results, they take a quarterback in the top 3, top 5, top 10, just because the quarterback happens to be there. I've always been one, and I grew up with that Coriel Hannafin offensive line, Deerdorf, Dobler, Banks, Young, Finney, and then we saw Hanny here with the greatest show on turf offensive line. I've always thought that I would take a great offensive tackle rather than take a quarterback just because he's there. What do you think of that philosophy?
I think you're right. But the problem is most people can't evaluate the great quarterback. Most people can't see great. I mean, remember, Patrick Mahomes was the 10th pick overall. Mitchell Trubisky went first in that draft, if you remember right. So I couldn't agree with you more. Look, you're always going to take the quarterback if you could evaluate the quarterback. But, to me, I think look at Detroit's success. Everybody gave Detroit crap, because they took Sewell in the first round. Are you kidding me? Sewell's one of their best players. He was one of their best players. Cincinnati's been trying to find a left tackle, and they didn't take Sewell. They took a really good player in Jamar Chase, but, they can't protect half the time.
You had a chance to look at the top coaches, the players in your book. I am curious about your list of top coaches. Give us an idea who you were looking at.
Well, I think the greatest coach of all time is Paul Brown. And I worked for Walsh. I worked for Belichick. I worked for Al Davis. I know Bill Parcells intimately. I was a Washington Redskin fan growing up, so I watched the great Joe Gibbs and some of the amazing things that he's done. But we would not have the profession of coaching if it wasn't for Paul Brown. He installed all the things that we do today, whether it's the game planning, whether it's the scouting notebook, whether it's the strategy, whether it's the play call from the quarterback, from the coach, whether it's the coach being up in the press box. He basically was the Bill Gates. He developed the infrastructure, the software for coaching, and he deserves a ton of credit. And the other guy that I think we don't pay enough respect to, and he's not in the Hall of Fame either, is Clark Shaughnessy. All we do is talk about quarterbacks. We wouldn't have the quarterback position if it wasn't for Clark Shaughnessy, and he can't get a sniff to get in the Hall of Fame.
Interesting.
Michael, one more thing. If Andy Reid wins on Sunday, if his team wins on Sunday, I think we have a tendency to over-individualize football. If Andy Reid's team wins on Sunday, does that edge him into your top 10? I know it's hard to take somebody out.
You know, I think it does. I think he was almost in my top 10 as it is. And so I would have said yes. I think so. Look, Andy's a great coach. And all Andy has done is gotten better and better and better.
He's terrific, and he's always been fun. He was at Mizzou before he went to the Packers, so we've always enjoyed him.
He was on Bob Stahl's staff at Missouri.
For a horrible team, one of the incredible staffs of all time with John Hoke, Marty Morningweg, Dave Taub was on that staff. Dirk Cutter, future NFL coach, was on that staff. It was an amazing staff that Bob Stahl had that never had any success at Mizzou.
Yeah, maybe they just couldn't recruit, but Missouri's got it going now with Eli. I love it. I love to see it. It's great because it is a great football school. It's a great basketball school, so I love it.
All right, Michael Lombardi, we love the book. It's called Football Done Right, setting the record straight on the coaches, players, and history of the NFL. Thank you so much for the time. Good luck with the book, and enjoy your Super Bowl weekend, sir.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Michael Lombardi with us on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we're going to head down the stretch. Little edition of Rocc Roll here before the weekend on 101 ESPN. time for Rocc and Roll here on 101 ESPN. Great to have you with us, Brooke, Dan, Matthew, and Randy. And Matthew, what do we got for Rocc and Roll?
Well, Randy, we got to give away some tickets to the MVC tournament first.
Oh, let's do it. Yeah, because we've got your chance to win a pair of single session passes. And you want to go to the State Farm Missouri Valley Conference men's basketball tournament? Well, now is your chance. It's the return of Arch Madness to the annual MVC tournament, March 7th through 10th at Enterprise Center. All session and single session tickets are on sale now. You can learn more about the tournament and register to win tickets at 101ESPN.com or on the 101 mobile app. But right now, we have your chance to win tickets just by texting into the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. All you have to do is answer this question correctly.
It might have been a long time ago, but there was a time when the MVC used to put champions up in the NCAA tournament. There are 4 teams to win the NCAA tournament as members of the MVC. The last one in 1961. Who was that team?
Wow, that's a great one. I like that. Who was the last Valley team in 1961 to win the NCAA tournament? Interesting. I think I know. I think I just guessed it.
Well, I don't think we can give you the tickets. I think you can probably get tickets elsewhere.
Oh, okay, good. What do we got for Rocc and Roll?
Well, we talked about some prop bets earlier at 8 o'clock, but those ones were a little bit more fun. They were a little bit more, a lot of Travis and Taylor there. But I wanted to get your guys' thoughts just basically on the game going into the weekend, because if you are looking to maybe put down some bets, some having some fun money in on the games, I think the big question in this game it comes down to, especially on prop bets, if it's going to be a high passing game or if this is going to be a grinded out, low scoring running game. How do you guys see the pace and the style of game we see on Sunday?
If I were the coaches, I would want to make this a running game first and foremost, simply because I believe Spags will give Brock Purdy and the 49ers offensive line looks that they haven't seen before. And we know that Spags has come up with a ton of creative blitzes, and now he has Willie Gay back for this game. And on the flip side, if I'm Andy Reid, I'm kind of concerned about my offensive tackles. And if Tooney isn't playing, I'm concerned about Javon Hargrave against Nick Allegretti. So I would be concerned about being able to keep Patrick Mahomes upright if I were Andy Reid, and I would try to run the ball if I were him too. So if I'm both coaches, I'm trying to shorten the game.
I agree with you. I think that it is going to come down to the running game on both sides. And you have the Offensive Player of the Year, Christian McCaffrey, so you're going to see him get the ball a lot. Now, is this going to be another game, though, that the 49ers are going to have to come back in?
Kansas City has scored first in all 3 AFC playoff games, so that is a very good point. They fall behind in terms of San Francisco. They fall behind early in playing catch-up. You got to get Mahomes out of his element. He's had 3 wins, no turnovers, 4 TDs in these games. Get him out of his element. And why are you laughing, Randy?
Because he's over there mowing down a pancake, probably. Is that what it is?
Aren't you paying attention to the show?
I'm totally paying attention. The 49ers have fallen behind in the playoff games. Green Bay.
Green Bay?
The game against Green Bay, they fell behind. Detroit, they fell behind, right?
Hold on. We were supposed to end this show at 9:50. We talked about that for Josh Ennis.
No, that's not how
And you couldn't hold on 2 minutes before you housed those pancakes?
Dan, while you were talking, he literally dips down. It's just mowing the pancakes.
Who would lean down to eat while somebody else is talking on the air?
Oh, no, I would never do that. I didn't do
okay.
that.
Brooke wouldn't do that.
Pot calling the kettle on that one.
Oh, she wouldn't do that.
It was during a commercial. It doesn't count as much.
So anyway, I do think both of these teams are so capable of coming back and have so many weapons. If I'm down even 10 at halftime, if I'm either team, I'm not worried about it.
San Francisco has to stop the run, though. As much as Mahomes can get out and do things out of the pocket, Chiefs have averaged 30 rushing attempts, 127 yards per game in this run through the playoffs. So Pacheco, obviously a factor. Kelsey will be a factor in somehow trying to stop Patrick Mahomes. But it's going to be fun, and evenly matched teams.
Here's another thing I would do if I were Kyle Shanahan. You know how teams script their first 15 plays of the game? Because of the adjustments that Spags makes, and he'll insert defenses that they have not practiced during the week, and he's got a really smart group. If I were Kyle Shanahan, I would script my first 15 plays of the second half too, and come out with a different look, because you have so many abilities to come out with different looks.
But that's got to be dictated by the score, though, doesn't it? in their second half.
Yeah, but go back to Super Bowl 34. 16-0 heading into the fourth quarter, and Tennessee runs the ball and gets the game back to 16-16. I can't imagine that it's going to be any more than a 13, 14-point game at halftime.
By the way,
I just want to give them different looks. That's what I'm talking about.
I think Kansas City is something like 9-1 against the under this year, or 9-1 with the under. That's interesting. You going to take the under in this one?
I'm going to go with the over. 47.5, and I think it's going over.
Okay.
28-20?
Yeah, I'll
like
take
that.
the over.
I like that. 28-20?
Yeah.
All
Score
right.
predictions for everybody. Let's do that before we head out. I'm going to go with Chiefs winning. Now, I do think the 49ers are going to leave. We went at halftime, but Chiefs are going to win it all. 27-24?
That was mine.
Oh, really?
It
I'm
really
sorry.
was.
Okay.
So
Great
I'll go,
minds think alike.
I'll tell you. All right, I'll go 24-21. Chiefs.
I think that this is a 34-31 game in
Little
favor
shootout,
of
huh?
the Niners, yes.
Wow.
As much respect as I have for the defenses, just so many weapons on both sides. The big weapon being number 15 for Kansas City, but the Niners have a lot of weapons too.
Quick question on that. 31 points for the Niners, assuming 4 touchdowns and a field goal there. How many touchdowns does Christian McCaffrey score?
2.
Okay.
That's what I was going to say.
How about that?
How about that? You guys are just stealing my...
I'm just building entries over here. Thanks,
We're
guys.
not combing through
Appreciate
your
it.
notes, Dan. We're not doing that while you're gone.
It's 9:56. That
All right,
means it's
that's
time to go to the weekend. And Josh Ennis is coming up.
Yeah, it's we've got a balloon party with Josh Ennis coming up. He will be joined, I believe, by Andrew Marsh. Will he not?
Yes.
Looking forward to that. A great job today by our producer, audio, video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocchio. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
Brooke, did you have fun today?
Yes.
Show us your face. We want to see your face. Who said that? You want to see my face?
Good. And thanks again to John Fitzgerald for bringing us a breakfast. Dan,
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, good to have you here,
So
brother.
nice.
Oh,
John's
thank
the
you.
best.
Standing. Enjoy your Super Bowl weekend. Blues and Sabres tomorrow, 11 o'clock pregame. Kansas and Baylor tomorrow afternoon. Blues and Canadians, 11 o'clock pregame on Sunday, followed by the Super Bowl. And for all of us, we thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of the show till Monday morning at 7. Have a great Super Bowl weekend, everyone.
And now for something completely different.
Cheap, fun. Dirt Cheap is St. Louis's one-stop party shop. They have a fantastic selection of all your favorite beers, all your favorite wines, and of course your spirits and the bourbons. They are all fantastic, and you're going to need all of that. We got the big game coming up here pretty soon. We've got Mardi Gras coming up. You're going to want to make sure you have all of the best spirits available. Get on the Dirt Cheap app, download that today, order your alcohol ahead, have it delivered to your house. Remember, have fun, but be safe out there.
So many chances during the big game to have some fun with your apps, and the new one, Underdog Fantasy, has their game, the Pick'em Champions, and it's so easy to make your entries for your big game plays. Pick 2 to 5 players from at least 2 different teams, and then you select higher or lower on the player stats. It's so easy. In fact, I'm going to do an entry right here live on the radio. I'm going to open my Underdog Fantasy app. So easy to get it there.